Welcome to Great American Ballpark, the brand new home of the Cincinnati Reds, as Fox Sports Net presents Cincinnati Reds and Cleveland Indian baseball. Today, the exhibition series, the Reds against the Indians. Hi, hello, and welcome to Cincinnati, everybody. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welch, I'm George Graham. What a special weekend, Chris.
I'll tell you, George, this is an absolutely beautiful place. Last weekend, more than 200,000 people from Cincinnati came through here on a tour. To a man, they loved it. It is just a cool place to be.
Neat place last night as the exhibition series began with the Indians beating the Reds, and the fans had a great time looking around and walking around this ballpark. There's some baseball to talk about, too, and from a Reds standpoint, heading towards the opening series against Pittsburgh.
Well, you hope that you can turn on the offense when you have to. They haven't been able to in the last week or so, but maybe they'll get the bats going this afternoon. We'll see how it goes, but certainly next week is what it's all about.
How about the Indians? Let's go to Rick Manning and John Sanders, who give us the update on spring training.
Thanks, guys, very much. The Indians winding up what has been surprisingly a very successful spring training.
I'll tell you what, the power numbers they had, they led all of baseball in home runs. They hit well over 300. Collectively, as a ball club, they really did a nice job. Eric Wedge has got to be pleased going into the season with the kind of offense he's had. Now he's just got to have everything going together, and we're starting the season on Monday.
And the Indians this afternoon will, if your name is Anderson and you throw left-handed, you're going to be pitching here today.
You're going to be in the middle of the diamond. For the Indians, it's Brian Anderson, and of course they signed him in the offseason, free agent, to eat up some innings along with Jason Bray, one of the two veterans in that rotation, and it's Jimmy Anderson for the Cincinnati Reds, who they acquired from the Pittsburgh Pirates. So it's going to be a couple of left-handers going at it in the middle of the diamond.
That's the matchup for the final game of spring training. We'll have more coming up from the Great American Ballpark. George returns with John Allen of the Reds after this.
Great American Ballpark. As you can see, the crowd continues to file in preparation for the second exhibition game with the Cleveland Indians, in preparation for opening day at Great American Ballpark. Hi, hello, welcome back to Field Level. George Grant along with John Allen. And John, last night had to be something very special for you, this organization, and the city of Cincinnati.
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, it's been a long time coming, obviously, 7.5 years basically from the sales tax issue. And, you know, so it's very exciting. And obviously, you know, when we scheduled these exhibition games, part of it was a dress rehearsal, if you will, for the big event on March 31st. And you know, there are a few bugaboos and a few things. And, you know, not only is it a learning curve for our staff, but also I think for the fans also learn their way around the ballpark and learn which elevator goes where and what escalator goes where and that type of thing. But overall, I think it was just a great success. And there's a learning curve, but it's kind of fun learning, too.
Indians fans went with it with Jacobs Field, and it was a very special night. It was the same thing here last night, just walking around listening to people. They were impressed with what they saw.
Yeah, they sure were, and that's who we built this ballpark for, was our fans. And it was very encouraging and very exciting to walk through the stands myself and listen to the people talk about the ballpark and how excited they were. So, yeah, very special night.
I know you're happy to have the Indians back on the schedule for this year, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, you know, when we were planning the exhibition games, we waited until we actually got the schedule to make sure that they weren't playing here also. In interleague, we might have done it a little bit different. But, you know, we're playing up there, and then hopefully next year in 2004, we'll get a chance to beat them down here.
I'm sure you're looking forward to opening day against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Oh, certainly, and it's going to be a very exciting day. And, you know, President George H.W. Herbert Walker Bush will be here, and that's going to be a lot of fun and some great entertainment. Daniel Rodriguez and certainly Lee Greenwood, and it's just going to be a lot of fun to really get this off. But, you know, the one thing I was disappointed last night, I was so busy I didn't get a chance to watch the baseball game. And as you know, I'm a big fan, and I love, you know, that's part of the great fun of the job I have, is getting a chance to sit down and watch a few innings of baseball. And last night I was so busy I didn't get to watch a game. So hopefully I can squeeze away a few innings on opening day.
Job well done. Continued success.
Thank you very much, George.
John Allen joining us here. We're ready for baseball when we return. The starting lineups from Cincinnati's brand new Great American Ballpark. Hi, hello, and welcome back to Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. George Grant and Chris Welch here. For those of you up in the northern part of the state, we on Fox Sports Ohio bring Reds fans Cincinnati Reds baseball, and there you see Bob Boone, the manager of the Reds, in preparation for Game 2 of the Battle of Ohio. And coming up in a little while, you'll, in the northern part of the state, get a chance to hear two of your three regular broadcasters on Fox Sports Ohio. John Sanders, Rick Manning will be by. Mike Egan, of course, is here too, and at the ballpark, and they'll be bringing you Reds baseball all season long. Pre-game, post-game, both in Cincinnati and in Cleveland. It's an exciting year here in Cincinnati with the new park. And Chris, same story also in Cleveland when we opened Jacobs Field. I remember being there, was very exciting, and the Reds fans are getting to feel that same jolt of excitement.
You know, in Cleveland, George, and it's like this in most of the cities that open new ballparks, it doesn't just matter to the ball club and those who closely follow the team, but it makes a big difference to the city itself. I think that will be a large part here in Cincinnati. It's been a city over the last few years that has had its bumps and bruises, but certainly opening a new majestic ballpark like this where the team will play 80-plus games here a year, bring a lot of people back down to downtown, I think it's going to have a major positive effect. And it's just a beautiful, awe-inspiring place. I mean, it is just a cool place to be.
Well, certainly, if this ballpark and the Paul Brown Stadium can have the same effect that occurred in Cleveland, then it'll have done its job, because there's been no downtown area, and certainly near a river area or near a lake area, that has blossomed better than in Cleveland, with the rejuvenation of that downtown region, and hopefully it'll have the same effect here. Well, there is a familiar face to Reds fans and Indians fans. That's Buddy Bell, the former Cincinnati Red, former manager, now the bench coach for Eric Wedge. He's talking to Eric down on the bench. This is a great coaching staff that the Indians have. It's been exciting to be with him the last couple of days. That guy is a no-nonsense guy. He's a great blend, Chris, of communicator and disciplinarian. Something tough to blend the two of.
In addition, George, there are so many young players on this Indians team that Eric Wedge has been in the Indians organization for a long time. He's seen a lot of these players throughout the minor leagues, and he knows the best prospects, and he knows what to expect out of some of these guys. And I think it is a good idea to have a nice young manager like Wedge out there, but he also has some veterans that surround him to help him out. Carl Willis is the new pitching coach. He's a former Cincinnati Red. He's had experience in the World Series with the Minnesota Twins. You've got Buddy Bell. You've got Eddie Murray. All those kind of guys will help a young manager like Wedge be able to overcome the rough spots. And this Indians team is bound to have a few rough spots down the road because they are so young. But boy, they have some very good-looking players.
Well, Eric and Mark Shapiro, the general manager, John Mirabelli, Neil Huntington, Chris Antonetti, a whole crew of folks north of the border, and it's a great staff that Mark has put around him, have come up with this roster that will go north, the 25-man roster. You'll see Brian Anderson today. He's an Ohio native. He pitched, of course, in the Indians organization and then went to the expansion Arizona team and has pitched there. Reds fans are familiar with him, but Anderson is in that starting rotation that will include CC Sabathia, Ricardo Rodriguez, Anderson, Jason Davis, and Jason Bray, another Red. Terry Mulholland, veteran left-hander, very valuable guy to have around. And you look at the pitchers on this staff, Chris, yes, a blend of veterans and a blend of some young names, too.
Well, I certainly like the top of their rotation. When you lead it off with CC Sabathia, this guy has a ceiling that he could be down the road one of the best pitchers ever. I mean, he's a big, dominating left-handed pitcher. You'd love to have a guy like that starting for you. And here's the rest of their roster right there. You see a lot of names that you may recognize from other teams, like Milton Bradley has been around a little bit. Bill Selby has come over from this league, and he's also been with the Reds and Indians before. But Matt Lawton, the guy that hit a home run last night, the first home run here at Great American Ballpark. But you've also got a good blend of young players that I think are going to blossom as they play around some of these veterans.
Funny how things go. Ellis Burks, outfielder, primarily a designated hitter. He's a guy that took Eric Wedge under his arm and under his cover when he first came into the major leagues, when EB was a veteran and Eric was coming up in the Red Sox organization, and now here it is. Eric Wedge is the manager, and Ellis Burks is one of his players. Ellis had hoped to play in one or both of these games, but with the rain that hit and with the lack of the designated hitter, there was some talk about using the DH in this series because Bob Boone wanted to get some of his guys some extra at bat. So EB will be available to pinch hit today. No designated hitter rule in effect here. It's normal National League ballpark rules as the Reds take the field. And let's go with our starting lineup for today's Game 2 of the Battle of Ohio. It is the Great American Insurance Group Interstate Series. For the Indians, Milton Bradley will lead it off. Bradley will play center field. Little number 24 in center, leading it off today. One of the best ever to glove it down at the shortstop position. Omar Vizquel will bat in the number 2 spot. Two switch hitters back-to-back in 1 and 2. Travis Hafter, if you look at him, he reminds you a little bit of a young Jim Thome. He'll be over at first base. The left-hand swinger will hit third. Shane Spencer, a former Yankee, will hit in the cleanup spot and play right. Casey Blake will be at third base. He'll hit behind Spencer. Jody Garrett will play left. He'll be predominantly a minor league player this year to start the year. The catcher will be Josh Bard. John McDonald, very solid middle infielder, will hit in the 8th spot. And there is the Anderson who will pitch today for Cleveland.
Well, they hope this is a transition year for this left-handed Jimmy Anderson, who's a sinker ball pitcher. He comes over from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He has lost 41 games in his last 3 years in the major leagues. But they feel that with the help of Don Gullett and just a more mature attitude of what he takes to the mound, that he'll be able to turn that around. He pitched himself onto the ball club early in the spring. He was nearly unhittable, had some tremendous outings early on. He was roughed up very badly his last time out, although there was some lax defense on the part of the Reds in that ball game. And I guess, George, if you run out there enough, you're going to have a bad game, and it was a bad game. But Jimmy Anderson is a guy that has to live at the knees. If he gets the ball above the knees even 2 or 3 inches, he becomes very hittable. So accuracy with his fastball and his breaking ball very important for this Jimmy Anderson today.
Your umpiring crew for today should take a look at the defense for the Cincinnati Reds. Behind Jimmy Anderson will be the lineup that pretty much will be your opening day lineup, with a couple of exceptions. Larkin Boone, the double play combination. Brandon Larson's over at third. Adam Dunn will get the start at first. We'll tell you a little bit more about Sean Casey in a moment. LaRue behind the plate. Ruben Mateo in left. Griffey in center. And Kearns is over in right. Kearns hit a homer for the Reds yesterday. Ruben has gotten a spot, one of the final roster spot on this Reds club, as we're ready to start the season against the Pirates come Monday. So Mateo is over in left. Sean Casey not starting today. Somewhat of a moment of trepidation for the Reds with Casey last night. First, he got hit with a line drive in batting practice in his surgically repaired left shoulder. He dodged that bullet. Here's Anderson delivering to Bradley, a swing and a miss. And then he made a play during the game. He dove for a ball, jarred his left shoulder. That was okay, but when he woke up today, his right wrist was sore. They took at first an x-ray, and then they took a CAT scan just to be safe. And finally, by the time he got to the ballpark, it had loosened up, and he said he's fine. But Chris, for a guy who came over from the Indians, was hit in the eye in one of his first days at Cincinnati, and another last day of spring training incident, he got hit by a line drive off the bat of Will Clark. These opening day and last day of spring training games have not been kind to Sean Casey.
Now you understand why Bob Boone says, hey, I'd like to bottle all these guys up. They're all healthy. Let's get them out of Sarasota and start the season right away.
Bounce down to third. Quick flip from Larson over to Adam Dunn, and there's one away. Bradley is retired. Weather-wise, well, you know what happens in March. One day you'll get 60, the other day you'll get 16. Yesterday, early in the day, it was in the 60s. Today, around this Great American Ballpark, it is overcast. Temperatures around 50 degrees. That'll be the best that we'll receive. And by Monday and opening day, Chris, looks like it's going to be a little chilly here.
Well, you know, you got to be used to that here. After all, you are opening up in the month of March, George. I wonder what happened to those degrees yesterday. I looked at my car temperature gauge, and it said 76 degrees this morning. I woke up at 5:30, and it was snowing big snowflakes. So this is Cincinnati in March, no doubt about it.
Well, Omar had a pretty good March, didn't he? You take a look at his numbers. 345 for Vizquel. 3 homers, 10 knocked in. You look up and down this Indians lineup. Yeah, they had a big offensive month of March. 18-11. That's one of the best records in all of baseball in spring training. So Larson takes care of the first 2, and there's 2 away. But the Indians did it a lot with offense, and most of the offensive leaders in spring training, you and I are familiar with this, they usually come from Arizona because there's more offense out there. But the Indians have had a great offensive spring. They've been at the top or 1 or 2 offensively all season long in spring training. They, as a team, hit .319 with 48 homers, so they've been dealing the heavy lumber this spring.
Almost too good to be true.
Mm-hmm. Here's Hafner hitting in the 3rd spot, the left-hand swinger. The big guy, number 9, trying to take over for Jim Thome. That's a big slot to take over. It seems a little strange, first, not to see Jim Thome on this club, but even more importantly, for those of you that follow the Reds and follow the Indians, it seemed very strange this spring and today not to see Jimmy Warfield, a great trainer for the Indians who passed away last year, but certainly still remembered very fondly by the Indians and by everybody in Major League Baseball. Our thoughts, prayers with the Warfield family and with the whole Indian family. Jimmy was one of the best. Looks a little bit like Thome, but a lot of games to put under his belt before he gets that kind of experience. And we can tell Indians fans that Jim Thome's looked good this spring. We had a chance to see him against the Phillies, and we will see him. Reds fans will see him during the course of this year.
He can still turn on a fastball. Jose Rio early in the spring buzzed one by him, but he came back to beat the Reds a couple of times on some long home runs, and he swings the bat well. Travis Hafner is a big guy as well, 6'3", 240 pounds. He was in kind of a dogfight for the position of first base, along with former Reds minor leaguer Gerald Broussard.
Yeah, Ben Broussard looked like he had a good shot at it, but he's been injured and on the shelf right now, and the hope is that he'll be back. Broussard, of course, came over in the Russell Branyan deal last year, as Branyan also will start the year on the disabled list. After shoulder surgery, he injured his shoulder during winter ball. Russell probably won't be ready for at least a month, probably 2 into the season.
Well, you kind of notice the way that Jimmy Anderson is going about his business. What he really likes to do is to throw his fastball on the first base side of home plate, cut that ball into left-handers away from right-handers, and then when he throws his breaking ball away from lefties and into right-handers. Same thing that his counterpart Brian Anderson will do.
First walk issued by Jimmy Anderson, and Shane Spencer will come to the plate. Jimmy Anderson, which Jimmy Anderson will show up for the Reds this year? Bob Boone, Don Gullett hope it'll be the Anderson who pitched against the Reds during his career. It seemed to be every time Cincinnati played Pittsburgh, of the starters for the Pirates, Anderson pitched better than anybody against the Reds. From the stretch will be Jimmy. Broken bat to right. Here comes Kearns. He gloves it. That'll do it. So walk, no harm in the top of the first. To the bottom of 1 we go. You're watching Great American Insurance Group's Interstate Series. Larkin, Boone, and Griffey due up when we return. American Ballpark. Let's check Bob Boone's Cincinnati Reds starting lineup. Barry Larkin, the captain, will lead it off. Aaron Boone, the new second baseman, will bat second. Ken Griffey Jr. will hit third. Austin Kearns, who homered last night, hits in the cleanup spot. Dunn will hit number 5. Brandon Larson behind him. Ruben Mateo in left. Jason LaRue, the catcher. And the pitcher Jimmy Anderson will bat in the 9th position, and another Anderson takes the mound. Another left-hander. It is Brian Anderson for the Indians.
Tough year for Brian Anderson last year. He pitched better than his record with Arizona indicated, though. He was 6-11. You see the numbers on him in the spring. Not all that impressive, but little by little, Carl Willis, the Indians pitching coach, tells me he is getting better each time out. They certainly need this guy in his veteran status to be able to step forward and be one of the guys who can lead this ball club. He, like Jimmy Anderson, has to be down around the knees and on the corners. Anything near the middle of the plate becomes very hittable.
Barry Larkin will lead it off. Larkin, the Reds starting shortstop for opening day on Monday, and he told Bob Boone he volunteered, knowing that the team did not have a bona fide leadoff hitting contender. He said, I'll hit leadoff. He said, I'm cool with it. I'll be there. And the Reds hope that they can get another 145 game season out of him. That's what they got out of Larkin last year. For those of you watching in the northern part of the state, those of you watching in the southern part of the state, we'll of course have pregame and postgame coverage. Popped up. Who'll get there? It'll bounce foul, and Larkin will try it again. And during the course of the next few weeks, on both our pregame shows, you'll see some in-depth interviews with some of the keys to these two ball clubs. Another look at Barry Larkin's bunt attempt, Chris.
Well, not a good bunt attempt by Larkin, but a good job by Josh Bard, the catcher. Simply realized immediately that if you're not going to catch that on a fly, let it go foul. With the English that was on that ball, it was spinning bad, and it was easily going to be a foul ball. Larkin trying to take advantage of this very slow grass here at Great American Ballpark. It is thick, it is slow, and a sinker ball pitcher's friend.
Pretty nice grass.
I love it.
Very similar to the old Tiger Stadium or Wrigley Field grass. It is bluegrass, solid bluegrass, and it's had a lot of time to get in and get solid. A lot better than the first time the Reds put grass in at the old ballpark at Synergy Field. There it is. It's thick, it's solid, and it's cut a little high right now. So right now it is a sinker ball pitcher's dream, the grass here at Great American Ballpark.
And it may stay that way. You really never know, George. This Reds ball club is not exactly blessed with overall team speed. They've got some good base runners, but they don't have a lot of guys that can steal bases. So therefore, with a lot of contact pitchers that they have, they may just want to keep that grass a little longer and see if they can make their offense, which is a home run type offense, fit the ballpark.
How much will the Reds run this year? Well, it depends a lot on how healthy Barry Larkin is. They hope to get a 20 stolen base year out of him. Larkin within grasp of 200 home runs. He already has 2,000 hits, and he has an outside shot at another stolen base milestone of over 400. That would put him in the category of only 4 other players in Major League Baseball. Boone showing bunt, and that's fouled off. Can Boone hold down the number 2 spot? People say, is he your number 2 hitter, or should he be down at 7th or 8th in the order? Aaron Boone, last year when he was in the number 2 spot, had some of his best offensive ball games. He'll go the other way. He can drop. He's probably the Reds' best bunter right now. So it's a spot that he should be able to fill. The Reds need him to do that. Rip but foul into the seats down the left field line. A look at Great American Ballpark. The red seats. John Allen and everyone in the Reds front office debated what color should the seats be, and it's kind of an off red. It's very impressive when you look at this ballpark without people in it. It's impressive, and with people in it, it is something special. High in the air, right center field. It'll stay in the park. Shane Spencer under it. He's got it, and there's your first out of the bottom of the first inning. Larkin retreats to first. These seats are pretty neat. Most of them are 19 inches wide, pretty good size seats. The only wider ones are the padded ones behind home plate that are 22 inches wide. The largest seats in all of Major League Baseball. That's the high roller area. That's where Chris sits when he comes to the ballpark with his family.
I was there last night. Let me tell you what, there's not a better seat in America for baseball than those behind home plate here.
They're pretty neat.
The diamond seats comes along with the lounge and all you can eat food and drink, and wow, you talk about being spoiled watching a baseball game.
There's a restaurant behind those seats down underneath the second level of seating, and if you buy those seats, you get food. There's JB, Johnny Bench. You know he's going to sit in the front row. And by the way, congratulations to Mr. Front Row, Bob Uecker, who will join Marty Brennaman as a broadcaster who will be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, the Ford C. Frick Award. That'll come this summer in Cooperstown. You know, Uke's speech will be entertaining, to say the least. Here's Junior. Change up, bounce down to first. Hafner will take it and tap the bag, and Griffey's retired. 3 unassisted, 2 away. Back to those seats behind home plate. The average cost, if you buy the whole package, it's about $175. That's for all the food and drink that you can pack away during a ball game, and those seats too. If you buy a partial season package, the rates will go up from there. If you can afford it, it's a darn nice place to watch a baseball game.
The food was so good last night, George. I ate with you. We looked at each other and said, is there a ball game tonight? Can we just stay in here and go through the buffet line a few more times?
The Reds have now, what the Indians have had at Jacobs Field for a long time, a very first-class facility, and the Reds can only hope in the next decade that they duplicate with John Hart, and now what Mark Shapiro doing, what the whole organization did, build from the ground floor up and win. Something they've done well in Cleveland. It's kind of a rebuilding mode right now, but there's some good young prospects that Reds fans will see here, and Indians fans will see up at Jacobs as well. Well, fastball by Kearns. Take a look at this giddy up.
Changing speeds, that's what Brian Anderson is all about. He'll not go over at 90 miles an hour on the radar gun, but he's a guy that can get you velocitized. Look for that slow stuff. Look for the slow stuff. All of a sudden, zip a good fastball by you. Working both sides of the plate right there. He's a guy like Jimmy Anderson that tries to pitch like Tommy Glavine. The difference between Glavine and Anderson, and either Anderson, is the pinpoint control that Glavine has, and these guys haven't been able to quite capture that in their careers.
Brian made it clear when he was out in Arizona that when he became a free agent, he wanted to come back home, either to Cincinnati or to Cleveland, and he wound up in Cleveland. Back to the organization he started with. The Indians hope that he and Jason Bure can give a veteran's taint to this young starting rotation and young bullpen too. 2-2, 2 outs. Drill to center. Larkin's on his horse. One hop to the center fielder Bradley. Here comes the throw to the plate. Not in time, and the Reds lead it 1-0. Well, the Reds fans here at Great American for the first time get a chance to cheer their team in the lead. Last night they fell behind 6-0. Take a look at the base hit by Kearns. He knocked in the only run last night with a homer, and he knocks in the first today.
A very good pitch by Brian Anderson there. That ball was 6 inches outside and on the knees. Great plate coverage by Austin Kearns. The throw by the center fielder almost in time. Misses the cutoff man and heads up by Kearns. He goes to second base.
Here's Adam Dunn. So for Kearns, that's his 6th run batted into the spring. He hit his 2nd homer of the spring yesterday to account for the only Reds run. And here's Dunn, who has 5 homers for the spring, 16 runs batted in. He's among the National League leaders in those categories. Just as the Indians hope Hafner can provide some punch, the Reds hope that Adam Dunn, big number 44, will provide punch for them and get back to where he was the first half of last year, not where he was the second half of last year. Got him on the inner part of the plate, fouled off, but held on to by the catcher Bard. So the Reds get a walk to Larkin. It pays off on the hit by Kearns. 1-0 Cincinnati. Casey Blake comes to the place when we return. Garrett will follow, and Josh Bard behind him.
Little breaking ball by Jimmy Anderson. He's getting the ball down today, something he did not do in his last time out. This one looks like it's a ball coming out of his hand, but sweeping across the plate, a little bit of a slider. Catches Casey Blake looking. He will not log a lot of strikeouts, but the key to his success will be throwing strikes, and he's been able to do that for the most part this spring.
You mentioned the key, staying down, and the other thing, he can't walk batters. When Pirates is when he walked 4 or 5 a ball game.
A lot of that has to do with confidence in your stuff. Same thing that Jimmy Haynes has gone through over the years. He just doesn't believe his stuff is good enough to get hitters out. So they nibble plate and miss and find themselves in a hole to the hitter. And then the hitter looks for a good pitch. For the Indians, same spot on the rubber. But
on Monday, Pop will be here. And the story of baseball will unfold for a new season in Cincinnati. 1-0 Reds lead it.
On that right now.
Marty and Joe will have their own bobblehead doll this year. We look forward to that.
That's a sold-out date already.
Should be a lot of fun. Going to work is lefty Brian Anderson against Brandon Larson, Ruben Mateo, and Jason LaRue. Opening day should be a lot of fun here in Cincinnati, and hope if you can't get to the ballpark that you can join us. President George Herbert Walker Bush, in other words, young President Bush's dad, will be here, but that's not the only part of it too. The opening day festivities. Daniel Rodriguez will sing the anthem. Larson sends this to right field. There goes Shane Andrews. How about that? Usually a left fielder in New York and a designated hitter. He's telling everybody I can play the outfield, and he shows you can here, Chris.
You know, he's got such a potent bat, Shane Spencer does, that Eric Wedge is going to have to figure out a way to get him into the lineup, get him a lot of at-bats, because he can help you offensively. This is a play that probably surprised a lot of people that have seen Shane Spencer play over the years. Not always known for his glove, but boy, that's a nice grab on a ball that just seemed to keep going and going off the bat of Larson.
Eric Wedge said among the things he's been most surprised about this year has been the way that Shane Spencer's played the outfield. So he continues to do that. It's a big transition at Yankee Stadium. I mean, right field, you know, with former Red Paul O'Neill anchored right field, and then you had Mondesi there last year. When Spencer played the outfield, especially before his knee injury, it was usually only in left, and he DH'd the rest of the time. So it's a transition for him. He says he's ready for it. He just wants to play full time. Says the knee is fine. Here's Ruben Mateo. Just as Shane Spencer was a bright shining star in the Yankee minor league system, this guy was the brightest star in the Texas Rangers system. Broke his leg, sidetracked for a couple of years. He's running better than he ever has since he injured the leg, and I don't know, Chris, it'll ever run with the speed that he had before the injury, but he's running as well as we've seen him run in the last 3 years.
He is, but if all goes well, you won't see a lot of Ruben Mateo this year. You will see the everyday outfielders, Austin Kearns, Dunn, and Griffey out there. One of the problems the Reds have is that their bench is, and this is indicative of every medium to small market team, that you've got a major drop off in talent between your starters and your bench, and this is very true with the Reds. Ruben Mateo at one time was a very much of a prospect, George, but he simply has not grown into his potential. Never has, and some are wondering whether he ever will. But when you're sitting on the bench, you don't get that much of a chance. You've got to be able to get off the bench, come up there hacking, and maybe help win a ball game late in the game.
The big guys, meaning the teams with the big payrolls, the Yankees, Mets, and the like, that are well over $100 million, they'll have maybe $1 million player sitting on the bench. The Reds and the Indians will more than likely have players closer to the minimum, meaning when the injuries hit later in the season, that the bottom can fall out. Popped high in the air to the right side. The first baseman Hafner over. He's got it, and there's 2 away. Now, a good example, the Reds last year were in first place for over 50 days. First week in August, they were in fact only 2.5 games out. And Chris, we talked a lot about it last year. There was discussion between the Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Indians in the Bartolo Colon talks. And had the Reds been able to get Bartolo Colon, that deal was made to the Expos in June, the Reds probably would have stayed in the pennant race because they would have had a bona fide #1 pitcher, something that they haven't had really since Jose Rio was healthy in '95.
Well, you need pitching, no question about it. One of the curious trades the Reds made over the winter was trading away Elmer DeSenz, who was their #1 pitcher, for Felipe Lopez. Lopez looks like he's going to be a good player, but how much he'll play this year is in question. I think they're looking at that as one of those futures trades. So you get a young property like Lopez, who's got superstar potential, and you have to trade away a good pitcher to get him. They think that they've replaced Elmer DeSenz in that rotation, but still, it all lives and dies by pitching.
Strike on the inside corner to Jason LaRue. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Here in the bottom of the second, again, our bill of fare for today in the 3rd. Rick Manning will come over and join us for the 3rd inning in the 4th. Rick will stay with us in the 5th. John Sanders will come over and sit with Rick.
You're kicking me out, huh?
And then you'll be back later with Rick, though. We're turning it over to you. Look out.
I like that kind of schedule. Middle innings off.
That's
it. Usually what happened when I used to start as a pitcher. Pitch a couple innings, take the rest of the game off.
And then come back later. This way you can go eat. Down and in to Jason LaRue.
Well, tell everybody down the Diamond Club that you send your regards.
You could make it down there in an inning, couldn't you? 3 balls, 2 strikes. Check swing fouled off.
A little controversy in last night's ball game, George. I see that pitch coming in on Jason LaRue. Ricardo Rodriguez drilled Austin Kearns and then had 3 other instances where he came way inside. At least it looked like he was inside to some of the Reds hitters. No retaliation. Eventually there was a warning given to both sides. I was curious as if there would be any carryover today, in as much as any of these starting pitchers would kind of rekindle some of that looked like it may have gotten out of control if the umpire hadn't stepped in.
I think most of the players on these 2 teams, especially the Indians, know that that's the Ricardo Rodriguez factor. It's kind of like when the Reds first played against Pedro Martinez. I mean, he would almost every time that he pitched against the Reds when he was in Montreal, he'd hit at least 1 because he pitched inside.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that your pitcher can't be conveniently wild either.
Exactly.
I mean, if you see 4 of your guys going down and dusting themselves off before they get back up, and your pitchers don't do a thing for them, especially in the beginning of a season in the first game of a new ballpark, I think that sends a bad message.
I don't think there'll be any doubt that there'll be 2, 3, 4 occasions this year where Ricardo will get the guys off the bench, and sometimes you need to reciprocate.
Worked for Pedro. And still does.
Short lead for LaRue. Here is Jimmy Anderson, the Reds pitcher, hitting in the 9th spot in the order. Ricardo will be #2 behind CC Sabathia in the Indians rotation to start the year.
Very close to a balk right there. Brian Anderson, if you followed him in the National League, you know he's got a very good move. He'll pick off a half a dozen or more base runners a year, but he's got one of those moves that is right borderline as to whether he steps far enough towards first base to constitute a legal move. When he goes to first base, what the rule book says is that you've got to have that 45-degree angle between first base and home covered, and he flirts with the other side from time to time. The way that he sells it to the umpires, that he'll continue walking towards first base and get away with it.
That's the goal of a left-hand pitcher. Come as close to a balk as you can, deceive the runner. And you can see LaRue down at first, not a very big lead at all. Jose Cardinal, as usual, in his first base coach's box for the Cincinnati Reds. Tim Foley down at 3rd. Anderson waves at that. For Brian Anderson, that's strikeout #2. Reds get a base runner, nothing to show for it. Heading to the 3rd. John McDonald, Anderson and Bradley due in. Rick Manning will join us. Chris goes to eat when we return. Welcome back to Great American Ballpark. That's the wide shot from center field, and Doug Johnson, Mark Goldsmith down in the truck give us this view of our compadre who visits us, Rick Manning.
Always nice to see you, George.
It's
beautiful, man. This is a beautiful place.
Like yours, like Jacobs. It's a great place to play baseball and to broadcast from.
And you know, I like the red seats. You know, normally all the seats, no matter in all the new ballparks, are green. I like the red seats. Very, very nice ballpark.
So you like this yard?
Yes, I do.
You always loved it when you played, just to go to a new ballpark, and kind of reminds you a little bit, you know, the old Municipal Stadium had some pretty thick grass in the old days, and kind of like Tiger Stadium, Wrigley Field, some good stuff.
Tough to get one through there.
Larson gobbles it up. Toss to first. McDonald's retired, and there's one away. How about this Indians club? Man, you guys hit the baseball this spring.
They had a terrific spring. I think surprised a lot of people, even with their power. You know, they had 48 home runs coming into this ball game, and you know, it is surprising if they can continue and carry it over. A lot of guys were battling for jobs, George, and I mean the competition down there was very fierce. At first base, they had some good competition. Casey Blake at third base, so it's been fun to watch.
Here's Brian Anderson, and I know one of two veterans in your starting rotation, he and Jason Bray, and you hope that they can help bridge the gap to the young pitchers, don't you?
Yes, I think that's what Mark Shapiro did. He wanted to get a couple veterans to eat up.
Whoa, how about this? Turned around is Kearns, and Anderson will wind up at third. Austin turned left, turned right. The wind, which has been tricky the last 2 days, got him turned all the way around. It drops on the warning track, and that's a very good defensive outfielder who has trouble in the wind here on this day.
You know, I wanted to ask you, I guess the ball was carrying pretty well last night. I'm sure it's hard to tell. It's only the second ball game here, but you'll see he starts drifting on it, turns around, backpedals, and that ball just kept going and going, got over his head, bounced up against the wall, and Anderson gets to third base.
Well, Brian Anderson will tell everybody who will listen, I can hit, and he gets a chance. Can't he? I mean, you've already gotten that story, haven't you?
Absolutely.
So the Reds bring the infield in, back to the top of the order, Milton Bradley. Back to this offensive team that the Indians have. I mean, can you expect this team to hit 319, hit 48 home runs?
No. I mean, anything. I mean, there's a lot of guys that really don't have proven track records that you can't really rely on. But Milton Bradley normally would be a middle of the lineup hitter. They've got him leading off. But he's done a nice job. He's had a good spring, and it's key for this guy this year to stay healthy and play a lot of games, because he's going to be leading off and playing center field a lot of the time.
One of the keys to success of the Indian teams of championship years was Kenny Lofton when he was doing it right, and we've noticed the difference the last couple of weeks of spring training. A healthy Lofton's played well for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that club could be a sleeper over there if he stays healthy. With Reggie Sanders there, they signed the two veterans.
Two switch hitters top of the order, Bradley and Vizquel. This one popped down the right field line, heading towards the seats. It'll be out of play. Gives you versatility at the top of the order, and then the pressure. Hafner after that, he's looked good, hasn't he?
Travis Hafner, he was in a battle with Ben Broussard, who came from Cincinnati with the Russell Branyan deal. They had a nice battle. They both hit over 400 in the spring, but then Broussard pulled a rib cage muscle or a oblique muscle, and Hafner really won the job outright. He had a wrist problem, but they acquired him from the Texas Rangers, and Hafner is going to play almost every day at first.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Strikeout for Jimmy Anderson. Infrequent strikeout for Anderson. That's a punch out for him, and that's your second out of the inning, so the Reds can drop the infield back.
Well, the countdown opening day has begun, and be a part of the excitement and tradition and pageantry. April 7th against the Chicago White Sox. Good seats still remain, but they are going fast. If you would like information, 1-866-48-TRIBE.
Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
Good job.
You taught me well.
We had some fun, didn't we?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm looking forward to you and Chris later on together.
I don't know if I am. We'll see.
You'll have some fun. You guys will have a good time.
They told me when I was riding over with Doug today, I said, who's going to do the play-by-play? He says, Chris is. He told me he could do it. I said, we'll find out, won't we?
Omar Vizquel bangs this one foul, and you put a ball in a wrong spot, either left-handed or right-handed, he'll hit it hard down the line, won't he?
He really had a good year right-handed last year. A very solid season for Omar, and this is the one guy that's going to lead this team. He's the proven veteran, starting his 10th year with the Indians.
Is he happy?
Player.
Is he happy to start the year?
Yes, he's ready to get rolling. You know, a lot of people were, when they were trading a lot of the veterans last year, thought they'd trade Omar Vizquel, and Omar says, I don't want to go anywhere. He's a 10-5 guy. He's got the right to veto any trade, and he wants to stay. He's very happy in Cleveland.
Well, the Reds have made it clear. Barry Larkin right now is the shortstop, but Felipe Lopez, who you saw with Toronto, is the shortstop of the future. I had a chance to watch Brandon Phillips in Double-A. He can play some shortstop.
Yes,
so.
Well, they have him playing second base. I haven't had the opportunity, but he's some kind of special athlete, isn't
he? He's already shown it at second, where he'll play all this year. I mean, Omar's going nowhere right now, but you know you have somebody that can play short. Bang down to third. Jason LaRue heads to the dugout as Larson gobbles it up. And no harm, no foul. The wind-blown triple. Still 1-0 Cincinnati when we return. Anderson goes to the dugout. The other Anderson goes to the mound. Welcome back to Great American Ballpark. George Grand from Cincinnati, Rick Manning from Cleveland joining you. And by the way, when you think baseball, don't just think Cracker Jacks, think filet mignon. This season, 6'5", 7'5", hit pretty good to left field. Under it for the Indians is Jody Garrett, and there's one away as Larkin is retired. You know, we've got a lot of new things to unveil this year at Great American Ballpark. One of them is right where Jeff Picoro's standing right now. Pick, what you got?
Thanks a lot, George. Out here in right center field, right next to what is now being called the Pepsi Power Stack, 64 feet high, 36 feet wide. These are one of the new unique features of this ballpark. Home runs, when Austin Kurtz hit it last night, the fireworks that everybody are so used to seeing here, they come out of the top. It lights up. Very neat. We will show you throughout the season all the different places in this new ballpark, including a little bit later we'll go to the machine room. And I want everybody to remember, George, we also have a new feature on the show this year. It is a post-game show. It's called Reds Wrap, brought to you by Gold Star Chili. We'll bring it to you after every game. Immediately following the game, we'll have highlights, updates, scores, and much more. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Pick. Pick will, of course, be part of the pregame show some of the time, always part of the postgame show. Jim Day, Dan Horde will be anchoring the pregame show for us, and of course in Cleveland, Andy Baskin, Jeff Phelps, Bill Needle will be doing the pregame show again, and Matt Underwood will be helping out postgame too on the road. And I know you'll be doing some interviews as well.
Oh yes, that's right. Pre and post. We'll do whatever we have to. Looking forward to it.
Can't beat being at the ballpark. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Aaron Boone. It's down and in for a ball.
I understand you were down behind home plate, the seats there, where you can get a nice meal underneath the restaurant last night. Or was it Pick telling me about
that?
Hey,
whoever would have thought? We just did a promo where we're talking about filet mignon.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
You and me talking about filet mignon.
You know, it used to be yeah, hot dogs. Now it's filet, and those are the seats. A nice view, and underneath, I guess, if you buy a seat there, you eat for free, whatever you want.
Hey, well, all I know is when we come up there, Coach takes good care of you guys in the booth, and you guys end up with some pretty good food. You've had it at Jacobs Field for a long time. We're finally getting it here.
Well, all I know is when we used to come to Cincinnati, Jesse used to get us the ribs. I'm not used to coming in here without any ribs.
It's a day game. Next time you're in, we'll get you the Montgomery and goodies.
You got it.
A walk to Boone. That's free pass number 3 issued by Brian Anderson, and here comes Ken Griffey Jr. Just as the Indians in recent years have relied on Jim Thome to provide the offense and stay healthy, the Reds really need this guy to stay healthy.
I really think he's going to have a bust-out year. He's had a couple down years, and it's always because of the injuries. And, you know, it's tough enough to play this game healthy, but when you're hurt, as Griffey has been with those hamstrings and the leg problems, if he's healthy, they need him to have a good year.
On the outside corner for a strike. Chris and I were talking about it, and let me get your opinion, because I know I've watched Ricardo Rodriguez throughout his career. He low-bridged Griffey last night. They were jabbering back and forth at each other. That's the way Ricardo pitches, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's not afraid to go inside. I mean, for right-handers especially, because he's got natural movement going that way. But if he's low-bridging a left-hander, he's doing that intentionally, and I mean, that's just his style of pitching. He wants that inside part of the plate, or he doesn't want a guy leaning out over. He hit about 7 or 8 guys last year, and he didn't have that many starts in the big leagues.
Boone off first. The Reds will run with Aaron Boone. He was a 20-20 guy last year, more than 20 home runs, more than 20 stolen bases. Not likely with Griffey at the plate most of the time, but Bob Boone wants to, when he can, run with Larkin and Boone at the top of the order. And later on, when Felipe Lopez plays, with Lopez wherever he shows up in the order. And Felipe will play some second, will play some third, and some short for the Reds. You had a chance to watch Felipe in Toronto. What can you tell Reds fans about Felipe Lopez?
I think he's a talented young player. He's a pretty good glove man. He's got good range. It's just a matter of getting a chance to play, because he was battling for a job always over in Toronto.
On the inside corner, we'll go full 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, let me check that out. He did. He hit 8 batters last year, talking about Ricardo Rodriguez in 7 starts, so he's not afraid to pitch inside.
You normally talk about walks to strikeout ratio. He's got starts to hit batter ratio.
They got all kinds of stats. Let's break out some more.
Obviously, he was #1 in the league in that category, because Pedro, I know he probably had, what do you have, like 20, 26, 27 starts. He didn't hit 26 or 27. Fastball, and that's the second time Anderson has geared it up another notch. Off speed, change up, breaking ball, then a fastball. This one's in.
Well, he tied up Griffey pretty good on this pitch. He didn't let him extend the arms. You see he's got to pull the hands through. It was a good location. And that's really how you try and get Ken Griffey out. You try and stay inside, because if you let him extend the arms, he can hurt you.
So Junior's 0 for 2, a ground out and the strikeout. Here's Kearns. Austin singled to center to knock in Barry Larkin with a lone run of the ball game. Austin homered last night, and those Reds fans and Indians fans who heard all the talk last year about a possible deal that would send Bartolo Colon to Cincinnati, and this was a guy that Mark Shapiro wanted, wasn't it? Either he or Duns, but Kearns was the one they really zeroed in on.
Well, yes, that's exactly right. They were looking for some pop for the outfield, and he ended up going to Montreal, where he got a very talented, he got 3 guys,
Brandon Phillips.
Brandon Phillips, and Grady Sizemore, who's a kid in Double-A that's coming.
Boone's going. Not in time, and he'll hold at second. In the dirt, the throw by Bard. And you know, Rick, what I gather in talking with Eric Wedge, and Eric was a former catcher who had he threw well till he hurt his elbow. He really likes Bard and the way he's handled pitchers and what he's done behind the plate.
He's had an opportunity to manage him last year in Buffalo, and he really believes that defensively that Josh Bard is a major league catcher. And his arm, they haven't had a lot of success throwing guys out, but a lot of times it's the pitcher. But he wants his catchers to handle and make those pitchers the very best every day. And of course, you know, with Josh Bard behind the plate, who knows how long it's going to be, because Victor Martinez, if they have a AAA, he's the franchise player in the wings waiting.
And don't you know, scouts around baseball know that. So if and when a deal would come, that's the first place they're going to be knocking.
I would think so. 2 switch hitting catchers that you have at that position. That's why it enabled them to trade Einar Diaz to Texas. And they got a guy like Travis Hafner and Aaron Mayette, a pitcher.
How about Brian Anderson? He comes inside for 2 strikeouts, 1 swinging, 1 looking. Still 1-0. Reds have the lead. Rick Manning will be back when we return. Thank you, Rick Manning. A bouncer to the second baseman, Boone. He tosses to first, and Travis Hafner is retired. Do you like what you've seen from Hafner so far?
Yes, I do. He's a big, strong kid. He's about 245 pounds. He's got good discipline at the plate, and I think that's one reason they wanted to get him. You know, it's funny because his idol was Jim Thome, who he is replacing over there at first base. Defensively, he probably needs some work, but I think he's going to surprise some people offensively. Hit for an average, he'll drive in runs, and he's patient.
Now, other than your golf game, I know you always work with the outfielders in spring training. Eric Wedge tells us that he's been very impressed with the way Shane Spencer's played and how hard he's worked in the outfield.
Shane has played a little left, a little right. He's even gotten some games at first base. And Shane Spencer, this is his opportunity to shine, because he couldn't get everyday playing time in New York. So it was an opportunity for him to get away from the Yankees, and he's going to get his 400 at-bats. At least that's what Skipper says.
And it appears the knee is healthy. So he appears that that'll help. A swing and a miss. So 2 guys who normally throw sinker sliders get strikeouts with fastballs. Brian Anderson get his, and here's Jimmy Anderson strike out of Shane Spencer.
Well, you know, what he does, he changes the eye level here and throws the fastball, gets it up above the belt. Shane Spencer, a good low ball hitter, so he put it in a good spot.
You were Gold Glove caliber outfielder. When you look at his hit pretty good to left, Mateo right there, and his tracks has it, and we'll talk more about that when we return. Line drive out, 1-2-3 for Jimmy Anderson. Reds go back to work. Dunn, Larson, and Mateo due up when we return to Great American Ballpark.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cleveland Indians and Cincinnati Reds, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Indians or the Reds.
Very nice, Rick Manning. George Grand with Rick Manning, and after this half inning, John Sanders will be over to be with his buddy Rick Manning to talk some baseball. Great to have you with us on Fox Sports Net for the Reds and the Indians on the Great American Insurance Group Interstate Series, the Battle of Ohio, Game 2. Indians won last night 6-1. Here's the big guy, Adam Dunn, struck out his first time up, followed by Larson and then Mateo. I guess you have to pick Minnesota in the Central Division again in the American League?
I think they would be the strongest. You're right. They went out and lose a guy like Milton, who has knee surgery, and they went out and signed Kenny Rogers to replace him. You know, another veteran left-hander. Yeah, I think they're the strongest, even though the White Sox acquired a Bartolo Colon. They still have some young players coming up, but it should be interesting.
You know, National League fans will get a look at Roberto Hernandez, who came over. He signed with the Braves. Tell us what you think he can do for that Brave bullpen.
He's still got a terrific arm. I know he's an older guy, and I mean, as far as the save goes, he's not as dominating as he once was, but he still throws in the mid-90s, as you'll see the swing and a miss. 5 punch-outs now for Brian Anderson.
Adam Dunn twice, so your slump starter right here for the Reds.
There you see, good look, a little breaking ball down and away. Got him to chase after it. Yeah, but when you're looking at Hernandez, he's still got a nice splitter. He's got a slider. He's definitely going to help that ball club. And they had to, I mean, when you look at the Braves pitching staff, much different than last year.
Popped high in the air to the infield. The second baseman, John McDonald, out in short center field. He had a little trouble. That's Billy Selby who's in the game now.
That's right. Good pickup,
Former
George.
Red. That's Doug Johnson filling us in. That's a change for the Indians. And a couple of changes. In addition,
Zach Sorensen looks like he's at shortstop.
At shortstop, the big guy Sorensen takes over the switch hitting shortstop. So Sorensen, the double play combination switches, and I tell you, Eric Wedge, I thought he was playing 2-platoon football when he came to town. You came in with a load of guys,
yeah,
didn't you?
Absolutely. And you know what? The roster's pretty much set. I think there's one final decision they have to make before we head to Baltimore, and that's in the bullpen. One pitching spot. Everything else is set.
Dribbler to the right side, bobbled by Selby, and Mateo will be on. Well, Bill Selby, the former Cincinnati Red product, who played at AAA, had a brief stint with the Reds. Very serviceable infielder, a great guy to have on a ball club. He boots this one.
Well, he accepts his role. He'll play a little second, third base, the outfield. This one just a routine play for Billy, and first error of the ball game.
You look at emotional moments of a season when you don't win. I guess Billy Selby's grand slam home run had to be one.
Oh boy,
for you guys last year.
It really was. Against Mariano Rivera and the Yankees.
How about that?
You know, the funny thing, George, the pitch before, he lines a ball down the right field line and missed by about 6 inches. So he comes back the very next pitch, and it rarely happens, and then he hit the grand slam. And yeah, it was a remarkable Sunday.
He's a neat young man too, isn't he?
Terrific guy.
Hard worker, and he had a lot of calls from people in the Reds organization after he hit that too. Anderson will toss over there a couple of times, and Mateo will hold his spot. Jason LaRue at the plate. He walked his last time up. Great to have you with us here at Great American Ballpark. Reds and the Indians. After this half inning, John Sanders will be by with Rick as we continue to sit down when the music stops and see who's in the chair.
See who can find a seat.
Now you're supposed to be back with Chris later at the top of the 7th. This one banged into center field. Base hit for LaRue, so the Reds have 2 on with 2 out. Now he went down to eat down in the high roller area. I don't know if he's going to get back here.
He might not. There's a pitch that Anderson leaves middle of the plate. LaRue just lines it right back up the middle. That is the 3rd hit now for the Reds. Excuse me, I have 2 and 3.
Kearns and LaRue.
That's what I have. The scoreboard's got 3. I'm not paying attention to the scoreboard.
Still exhibition.
Yes, they are. They're still working it out.
Here's Jimmy Anderson. Now, when you look at and here's another new look for this year.
Hey, that's nice.
Camera in the booth.
Oh, right there, hanging down.
So when we bring you the Montgomery and ribs next time, they'll be sitting right here, and you can be eating.
Believe me, those guys in the truck may show us.
Sorensen has it. They'll get the force at second. That'll do it. So the Reds will strand a couple. There's our little camera, and it's a little lead for the Reds, 1-0.
Join Rick Manning for a couple of innings. I've been listening to you and George. Beautiful ballpark, though. I know.
Yes,
they're going to have a lot of fun here this summer.
They certainly should have. The ball seems to carry very well in this ballpark, and it's a chilly day, not like yesterday. Yesterday a little warmer, but that ball Brian Anderson hit. He's going to talk about that triple all year now.
Well, see, I'm not sure that was a triple.
It was.
I think it was a double and an error, but it doesn't really matter. As you said, you don't want to look at that scoreboard because those numbers are all wrong.
It's spring training for those guys as well.
Cody Garrett grounded out first base his first time up. Probably playing his last game at this level, I would think, Rick. You were talking about the roster changes, and with Traber taking over for Mayette, the Indians are pretty much set. They know the guys they're going to have to start the season. It'll be interesting to have 3 left-handers in the bullpen. We haven't seen that in a while.
No, you're right. It'll give Eric Wedge a little option. He can go to some left-handers earlier in a ball game if need be.
Lined toward right field, base hit. That's what Jody has done all spring long. He gets the Indians leadoff spot going here in the 5th inning.
He's got a nice short compact swing, stays back on the ball. See those hands get through the hitting area, gets the Indians' 2nd hit. And you're right, he came to spring training just he said he just wanted to open some eyes and make coaches aware, and he did more than just that. I mean, they are aware this guy can play at the major league level now, but he will go to Buffalo because he has to play every day.
Josh Bard grounded out to 3rd, and they've had that 5-3 number down pretty well.
Yes, they have.
Larson with 5 assists already. Lopez has taken over at shortstop for Cincinnati, and Taylor is playing in center field as the team start to make some changes. John McDonald is on deck. There's a ground ball to short. 2nd for 1, on to 1st, in time. Double play.
Well, you get into the ball game, they're going to test you. And there's Lopez, gets the good flip over to Boone, turns it nicely to get the double play. And I'll tell you what, Jimmy Anderson has had that ground ball working to that side of the diamond. 6-3, 5-3.
Here's John McDonald, and grounded out to 3rd base his first time up. That's off the end of the bat, a roller to 1st, the quick underhand flip, and it's a quick inning. Indians get the leadoff single, but the double play takes care of that. And we will head to the bottom half of number 5 on Fox Sports Net. Grub here at the Great American Ballpark. We're in downtown Cincinnati. I'm John Sanders right now with Rick Manning, but Chris Welsh is going to come over and join Rick momentarily, and then George and Chris will both be back to wind up the game. They're very hospitable, allowing us to do a little work here this afternoon as these 2 teams close out their spring training schedules.
Yeah, the bell will ring on Monday, which is very good for everybody. That's when it all counts.
This is Felipe Lopez, who's batting in the number 9 spot. Yeah, write it down on your card, Rick. Put him in there.
I've got it.
Fouled out of play.
You know, John, these 2 games were supposed to be sellouts, but today a lot of no-shows here in this ballpark.
They've sold out, I think, 7 games, including these 2 exhibition games.
Opening day, which will be Monday for the Reds against the Pirates.
Backhanded at short, and the long throw by Sorensen, not in time. So Lopez hustles down the line, beats out an infield hit. Reds get their leadoff man aboard.
Well, Sorensen going to the hole and just couldn't get enough on it. Lopez just beats it out. Nice try by Sorensen, but the good hustle of Lopez.
Now that'll bring up Aaron Boone. Taylor will follow. High down the right field line, wiggling its way toward the seats and just out of reach. Good effort by Spencer that time as he
right at the corner over there where it bellies out. You run out of room. If he had another 2 feet in front of him, he might have been able to get over there and catch it. But watch where he runs into. There's a point of the seats right there. And it just ran out of room. But it is padded, so you got to be careful. There's the guy with the souvenir. First row. Go home happy.
Bounce the other direction. Well, I'm very impressed with the ballpark. I know that they'll have a lot more coverage of this ballpark when George and Chris are back on, but it's a nice place. They did a good job. Temperature about 44 degrees at game time. It's chilly. A little different from yesterday, huh?
Well, that's what you get when you get the opening of the season. You come up north from Florida and you don't know what you're going to get. You usually get a few chilly nights in April.
This will be pitch number 87 for the left-hander Brian Anderson.
Aaron Boone shifting from third base to second base this year, with Brandon Larson. The
McDonald spins, throws him out. That will push Lopez into scoring position as Taylor comes to the plate.
So Johnny Mack goes from second base to third base and a nice spinning catch. And you know, no matter where you put him on that infield, he's certainly a good glove man. Got up quickly for the first out.
He did have one of his worst games ever when he was playing
Remember
third
that?
base. Yes, I do.
Would he have 2 or possibly 3 errors that one ball game?
Taylor bunts it foul. Reds are leading 1-0 as they bat in the bottom half of the 5th inning. Spring training numbers for Reggie Taylor. Austin Kearns is on deck. That ball is ripped down the right field line, but into the seats. Strike 2. I think the players are going to have to get used to some of this chilly weather, Rick, because I'm sure during the course of that first month of the season there are going to be some chilly days and nights.
Well, you can see some of the players, they've got those ear stockings on underneath their hats and helmets today. I didn't think it was that cold out.
I noticed that Josh Bard was wearing a stocking cap under his catching gear. You can see just the edges of it.
Nice play by the ball boy. Picked it clean.
Some nice catches in the stands so far by the Cincinnati fans.
He says, no problem. I'm ready to start the year out too.
It's interesting to hear the comments of some of the players about this ballpark. Terry Mulholland saying that Cincinnati's always been a good baseball town, and it really has over the years, but felt that Riverfront Stadium was a detriment, and a lot of fans didn't come because of Riverfront. I'm not sure that that's true, but that was his theory on the situation. Of course, the Reds have a long tradition of winning baseball, and last year they had 2 really good months. I mean, they started out great even without Ken Griffey, and it was when he came back from his injuries that things started to go south for them.
Well, they've gone to Danny Graves now, who was their closer. He's going to be a starter. Matter of fact, he's in Florida getting a start tomorrow before the season.
Just outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 out. Lopez, the runner, at second. Indians and the Reds playing for the 4th time this spring. The Indians have won 2 of 3 coming into this afternoon. But the problem for Cincinnati has been their offense, the lack of offense, really.
Well, yeah, coming down the last, 8 or 10 games in spring training, they haven't scored a whole lot.
Matter of fact, in their last 17 games, they're 3-13-1 and have a team batting average of 186.
Well, there's a couple ways you can look at it. You can say, okay, fine, we didn't use up everything in the spring. I mean, opposite the Indians that have been on fire, if they start the year out like this offensively, then you'd start to worry a little bit. But you're saying, okay, now the season's ready to go. Let's see what happens when it counts.
I think about the Yankees. They're always a team that does not play very well in spring training at all. And yet at the end of the year, when you get into September, they're right there. Another strikeout for Brian Anderson. 6 so far this afternoon.
Well, just like the team on the field, the Indians team shops are ready for the 2003 season. There are plenty of great items, including the new authentic Indians batting practice jerseys that they're wearing with the script I, and also the hats available in adult and youth sizes. 1-800-38-TRIBE for the number.
I'm not going to congratulate you like George did. I guess he didn't know if you could read or not.
What, the promos?
Yeah.
Maybe because he reads all his promos. They don't let Chris do it. Congratulations. And, you know, I had to read the disclaimer today.
I heard that.
They tried to sneak that in on me.
You always like that. You know, you like that disseminate word. I know you do. 2 outs, runner at second base, 1-0 ball game. We're at the midway point, playing in the bottom half of the 5th inning. It was Kearns who drove in the game's only run with a 2-out base hit in the 1st inning after a leadoff walk. The Indians will leave immediately following the game, go to Baltimore, and get set to start the season. Oriole Park at Camden Yards, well hit toward right field. Spencer, right at the edge of the track, makes the catch. Still a 1-0 game after 5. We're back. Some changes. Jimmy Anderson not facing Brian Anderson here. It's Mingus who is pinch hitting. One of the players the Indians brought to make the trip.
I wonder what time their flight is down to Florida after the game.
I don't know. I don't know, but I know that I bet they've got seats on some plane heading back. Mingus is a Cincinnati native. He was born in Cincinnati and lives in Hamilton. There's a strike. 3-1 the count. The Indians have been held to 1 extra base hit and a single this afternoon. Lifted high in the air, right side. And nobody wants it. It's going to drop untouched. It must be the Bermuda Triangle out there in right field.
There's been a lot of action out there, and that's really the second baseman's ball because he could get over there and catch it. But if you're the outfielder and you can run in and call him off, he could have caught it, and they just sort of expected somebody else to catch it. First baseman, that's a tougher play for him going back, but I think Boone was underneath it. Watch, he gets over there, and he's got plenty of time, and then he waits. He looks at the first baseman.
I got it, you take it.
Yeah. And you see Kearns coming in. He could have caught it.
Well, it's a gift double is what it is. Now the Indians with nobody out have the tying run in scoring position. Milton Bradley's grounded out to third and struck out so far this afternoon.
It's that number 9 position for the Indians. First time up, Brian Anderson got that gift triple.
Yeah, Kearns was all over the place on that one, wasn't he?
Well, you know what? This is going to be different for these guys. It's going to take them a while to see where the winds will carry the ball, maybe down the lines or knock it down in the alleys.
And that one bounces away from LaRue, and moving to third is Mingus. Let's see where that pitch was. It was in the dirt.
Well,
he tried to backhand instead of block it.
You're exactly right. He tried to backhand that ball. He didn't try and smother a guy on second base. So now you move him up another 90 feet. Infield's got to come in a 1-run ball game. Gives Milton Bradley another chance to drive in that guy from third base. Last time he had an opportunity, struck out in the third.
Sorensen is on deck. That's outside. And Travis Hafner to follow. And the Reds with nobody out. A 1-run ball game. Bring the infield in. And that should do the job as he hits it very well to center field. Taylor all the way back to the warning track. But that will score the run. So Bradley did the job. Gets the tying run home here in the top of the 6th inning. So for Milton, his 16th RBI in spring training. And the Indians have tied it up. Zach Sorensen now bats. Now, Brian Anderson was right around the 100 pitch mark in his 5 innings of work.
It's usually where you want your pitchers before they leave spring training, ready to go right around the 100 pitch mark.
Soft line drive to second, and that is out number 2.
Well, you can meet and greet Eric Wedge and the new Cleveland Indians at the first pitch luncheon. That'll take place Wednesday, April 9th. It'll be at noon at the CSU Convocation Center. And there will be an autograph session after the luncheon, which I'm sure the people would like. They started that last year. If you would like information, you can visit Indians.com or call 216-420-4400.
Base is empty, a run in here for the Indians in the top of number 6. Strike called. Hafner's walked, grounded out to second base. Takes a look at a ball. Count evens out at 1-1. Well, the Indians have their 25-man roster ready to go, but when we were showing you from down in Florida the various competitions and the people that were in the picture, don't let that leave your mind, because there will be changes during the course of this season. Remember last year.
They used 59 players last year over the course of the long haul, but that happens with any team once you have injuries. I think if you look at projected lineups in spring training and you go back in June and look at it, there's going to be a lot of differences. I think one team that did not use many guys last year, or at least they used the disabled list the least, was the team we're going to open against at home, and that's Chicago White Sox.
High and deep to right field. Kearns is back at the warning track at the wall, and it is gone. That guy's got some strength, doesn't he?
I'll tell you what, that ball was up there for a while. Stayed back on it, and that just had some carry. That was a legitimate home run for Travis Hafner. He hits home run number 5, gives the Indians a 2-1 lead. And this pitch right in his wheelhouse. And it was high and it was deep. And they throw it back out onto the field, but it's not going to matter when it comes down. It's a 2-1 Indians lead.
A middle blast. Boy, did he powder that one. So Hafner with number 5, and his RBI total goes to 13. And all of a sudden the Indians have the lead. One of their favorite weapons this spring, Rick, the long ball.
It's 49 this spring for the Indians in their 30th game.
Nope. Downstairs for a ball.
Well, there's his view. He threw it and he knew it. Sometimes a pitcher can go up there and say, man, I must be throwing hard if they hit it that far.
That ball is smoked into the gap in right center. Taylor falls down. He won't get there. Spencer will stop with a double. Now, Shane Spencer hit it right on the button. The Indians get their 4th extra base hit, although 2 of them were gifts. These were not.
You're right. The inning started with a ball, a double that should have been caught. Shane Spencer gets that ball, goes the other way with it. Having a good spring for the Indians. Spencer cruises into second to keep the inning going.
The Indians now with 5 hits. The Reds only have 3. Bill Selby playing second base right now, batting in Casey Blake's spot. Coming to the plate for the first time, and the Indians trying to tack on an extra run here in this 6th inning. Jody Garrett to follow. Shane Spencer at second. And the 1-1 to Self. Put that one in a good location. 1-2.
Although he's in the 6th inning, Jimmy Anderson has been tidy with his pitch count.
Yeah.
Only 78 to this point.
Anderson came up through the Pirates organization before signing in the offseason with the Reds. Strike 3 call. That ends the inning. The Indians strand a runner. The third they have left, but they put 2 on the board to take the lead thanks to the Travis Hafner home run. You're watching the Great American Insurance Group Interstate Series from Cincinnati. Here's the final piece of the Indians puzzle roster-wise. Is Billy Traber, the left-hander, who was the winningest pitcher in the Indians organization last year in the minor leagues, but made the team in a bullpen role.
Yeah, he hit a couple different stops, and he's done a nice job this spring. 1-0 record, pitching in 16 innings. And this guy, he's got normally a starter, but he's got good control. He's around the plate. Coming in for Brian Anderson. Brian went his 5 innings. Gave up 3 hits and a run.
And Garrett is in center. Mingus, who scored the first run in that 2-run 6th inning, is in left field now for the Indians. Mingus will continue to bat 9th. The pitcher's spot then is at the top of the order, with Milton Bradley departing the lineup. The Indians on top 2-1, thanks to the home run by Hafner. Strike on the outside corner. I wonder about the mindset of a guy who wants to be a starting pitcher, and he has said that, well, I'm just going to have to see how it works out, because it's a different deal. You don't have the same length of time to get ready to come into a ball game. You have to get warmed up quicker. But I know the Indians think that they'll be able to use him maybe 2 or 3 innings at a time, possibly.
Well, they certainly can if he's normally stretched out. But the way I look at it, it's any time you have an opportunity to get to the big leagues, whether you're a starter or not, doesn't mean he's going to stay as a reliever throughout the course of the year. Your job is to go out and get outs, no matter whether it's the 1st inning or you coming in the 5th or the 6th. All I know, big leagues is big league meal money and
that's right. Big league salary.
Big league salary. That's the bottom line. You can come out and you're going to try and get hitters out.
Hit slowly to first. Hafner there, 1 out.
Well, you can be a part of the Tribe's blueprint for success. The Tribe has an assortment of outstanding season ticket opportunities available this season. Packages start as low as $240. Plus, season ticket holders receive a wide array of benefits. Visit Indians.com or 216-420-HITS and get your seats today.
1 down. Brandon Larson, the hitter. He's lined out to right. Nice catch in right field by Spencer, and reached on an error. Each team has committed an error this afternoon.
What are you going to do with your scorecard after this inning, John?
I'm just going to sit right over there in that other booth and keep score.
Yeah, I bet. You'll be nowhere to be found.
You know what? I'm not going to worry about all these late inning changes either after I leave this room.
You'll be right down behind home plate, won't you, looking for a fillet.
And I think the Reds situation, Rick, really depends on Ken Griffey Jr. and how he plays. He appears to be poised to be at full health and have a good season, and that'll be a huge plus for the Reds.
I'll tell you what, if he stays healthy, I think he's going to have a good year. We talked about it, George and I, a little bit earlier, and you're right. He is going to be the key to that offense. He's having a nice spring to this point.
Swing and a miss.
But they've got some big bats in that lineup. Austin Kearns, Adam Dunn. And if you get Larkin back into shape.
Strike 3 call. 7 strikeouts for Indians pitchers in the ball game.
This looked like a little backdoor breaking ball. by Traber. You can see he's around the plate, and Lopez gives up on it.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
A little backdoor, excuse me, I said Lopez, it's Larson. And there it was, outside corner. The right-hander gave up on it, and Traber gets the call.
Here's Mateo taking a called strike one. And when we move along to the 7th inning, then Chris is going to come over and join Rick for a couple of innings. And then George will be back for the 9th. And I will see you again on Monday, and I hope you'll join us. We'll have the whole crew there, tribe time, and get set for opening day. 20:03 from Oriole Park at Camden Yards. 0-2 the count. We've got 2 outs in the inning. Final spring training game for both of these teams. Comes inside for a ball. 1-2 the count. The Indians about hit the Reds 5-3 this afternoon. And 4 of the Indians' hits are extra base hits, and 2 of those were gifts. This one has popped up into foul territory. Hafner's there, and the inning is over. So Chris will join Rick when we come back with more of the Great American Insurance Group Interstate Series. So long.
The Reds here in the top of the 7th inning. Chris Welsh along with Rick Manning. Rick, nice to be joined by you here.
Hello, Chris. Nice to see you. You're finally the last guy I'm going to work with today, huh?
Been waiting a long time to sit in George Grant's chair, and here it is. Jimmy Anderson working with a first pitch. The left-handed hitting. There we are. Jody Jarrett.
You got cameras all over this place.
We've got more
pick us up
cameras
out
than
there and right over here underneath the TV.
Actually, more than what we care to have.
Hey, what is out in center field under those cameras? Is that anything?
That's the batter's eye bar. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. High fly ball by Jarrett. Mateo and Reggie Taylor converging, and it looks like Reggie Taylor, the center fielder, will make the catch. And let's go to Jeff Pecoro for an injury update. Jeff?
Thanks a lot, Chris. Yeah, this morning Sean Casey woke up and his right hand was really bothering him. Yesterday in the first inning, he slid in foul territory to make a catch. Saw Dr. Kremchek this morning, did x-rays and a bone scan. Both are negative. They said just some rest. He will start on Monday. And Danny Graves was supposed to go back to Sarasota today and pitch in a minor league game tomorrow. Because of inclement weather in Sarasota, he will stay here. He will throw a simulated game here at the ballpark tomorrow to keep him on schedule. Gentlemen, back to you.
Thank you, Pick. Blood blisters on the finger of Danny Graves is the problem that he found. You know, Rick, interesting that he blamed it on minor league baseballs used in a minor league game down in Sarasota, trying to get himself ready for the rotation. Heard a lot of excuses about guys getting hurt, but
minor league baseball.
Minor league baseball.
It's the same thing, aren't they?
Well, I think he said that the seams on the minor league ball were a little bit higher than that on the major league ball, and well, he won't have that problem if he stays up here. He will have a problem with inclement weather if he thinks it's bad in Sarasota.
Yeah, you got that right. How's he made the transition from the bullpen into the starting role?
He seems to have made it pretty well. The only question mark for Danny Graves is whether he'll ever pitch out of the full windup. You know, he began to work with it. He hasn't pitched out of the full windup since he was in high school. And when he did go to the full windup in exhibition games, he was knocked around pretty good. Couldn't find his timing, thought his mechanics were way off. He went back to as simple as it could be out of the set position, and he's been throwing the ball real well. I doubt that he'll even go to the full windup unless they figure out a way to do it. Tim Laker in place of Josh Bart will take a 4-pitch walk from Jimmy Anderson, and with 1 out and 1 on, and John McDonald will make his way to the plate. McDonald 0 for 2, a couple of ground balls, and that's been the order of the day for Jimmy Anderson. Gabe White, the scheduled next pitcher for the Reds, he'll pick up after this left-hander.
Must be left-hander day here. That's all we've seen this afternoon.
It must be. They're trying to get the pitch count up on Jimmy Anderson up to around 90. He is at 88 right now. He misses wide on that first pitch to McDonald. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Rick Manning, before we leave, because those of us who follow the National League have a pretty good idea of who are the better teams in the National League, but I want your predictions on American League divisions this year.
All right, I can give you that.
There goes the runner, Laker, and the pitch fouled back, and it will start all over again with a 1-1 count.
Well, in the Eastern Division, you got to, of course, look at the Yankees. They're going to be strong, and I don't think Boston made enough improvements to really catch those guys. And I have to think that probably Minnesota will repeat as Central Division champs. Even though they lost Eric Milton, they go out and sign a guy like Kenny Rogers and put him in place. And the West should be a pretty good shooting match. And I'm thinking that the Angels may go ahead and win the division this year instead of becoming wild cards. But it's going to be a dogfight with Oakland there and probably Seattle. So that's probably the best division in the American League, is the American League West.
You know, the only flaw that I see in your argument there about the West is the wild card may come out of the Central, because there are some weak teams. Fly ball by McDonald, right field. There's Austin Kearns. Can he get this one? Yes. And there are 2 down.
You like Chicago's chances?
Well, I like Chicago's chances only because in the National or the American League Central, you've got a couple of teams that aren't very good at all.
Kansas City, well, and both teams lost 100 games last year.
And depending on how this Indians ball club reacts from some tough times. I mean, when you're young, you're bound to lose some games, and if they can't rebound mentally, that might be one of those things where they may see some losses build up.
Well, you could be right. You could be right there, but I think that the better teams are out west with the dominant pitching staffs.
Tyler Mingus in for the second time. He had a bloop double in the 6th inning when he hit the ball into no man's land between second base and first base, came around to score, and in that inning is when the Indians push both runs across and have a 2-1 lead over the Reds. Chris Welsh with you here along with Rick Manning. Color commentary for the Indians. There goes Laker on the run. The throw by LaRue, not in time. And a surprise stolen base by the Indians catcher.
Yeah, there's a situation there. You're not expecting the catcher to run, but with 2 outs, why not take a chance and get in scoring position? So Laker, he just took off on first movement.
Yeah, sometimes you steal it off the pitcher. That's it. I don't think there's a catcher in the National League that throws better than Jason LaRue. But
he made it a lot closer than what it should be. And you can see Laker, he's no speed demon, but the throw was right there. But Laker had a terrific jump.
That little indication of what Eric Wedge may have in store offensively?
Well, yes. I mean, anytime you have an opportunity, there's 2 outs. He's got a 1-run lead. Try and take that extra base. I don't think this Indians ball club is blessed with a lot of speed, you know, or some burners, but he's going to try and stay aggressive, and I think he'll run more when they have the lead.
2 balls and a strike to Tyler Mingus. Swung on and fouled down the left field line. In the outfield for the Reds, Ruben Mateo, Reggie Sanders, and Austin Kearns. Along the infield, Brandon Larson, Felipe Lopez, Aaron Boone, and Adam Dunn. Reggie Taylor in center. Had a tremendous first half of spring training, Taylor did, and then, boy, he has been in a tailspin offensively.
Well, you know, as of Monday, and you know it, once that bell rings, that's when it all counts. So you really don't worry about it too much. You would like to go into the season with a little momentum, or say being hot, but when that bell rings on Monday, everybody will be ready.
Here's the 2-2 by Anderson. Swung on, that's a base hit, and here comes Laker around third base. The throw by Reggie Taylor in time, and they got him at the plate. A great throw by Reggie Taylor. Nice tag by Jason LaRue, and that'll hold the score right there. At the Indians 2, the Reds 1. This Great American Insurance Group Interstate Series. We'll be back after this.
Smoked into center field, and with 2 outs, you're going to try and score him. But he comes up and fires a seed. Just a perfect throw to get Tim Laker at home plate. All the way in the air, a beautiful throw and a nice tag. And that's how the inning is going to end to keep it a 2-1 ball game. So Taylor comes up and fires a BB.
A good defense by the Reds right there to hold this to a 1-run ball game, and a new pitcher for the Indians now. The 3rd left-hander, the 5th left-hander that we will see in this ball game so far, Rick Manning.
They're going to bring you out of the booth and let you go out.
You know what? They can do a lot of things, but that's not one of them. Probably. There's Reggie Taylor happy about that defensive play. Carl Sadler, the new lefty for the Indians, will come in. How about Carl?
Well, Carl, I'll tell you, he will be actually the 3rd left-hander in the bullpen, because they still have Terry Mulholland, who is going to be in, you know, for Cleveland. That's they haven't had a lot of left-handers coming out of that bullpen in the past, but Eric Wedge will have an opportunity to go to 3 different guys at the start of this year. And came up last year, did Carl Sadler, and did a nice job.
Now Sadler will work to the bottom of the order. Jason LaRue, the 8th hitter in the lineup. It'll be a pinch hitter for the the pitcher, Jimmy Anderson. Will be Ryan Friel, has worked his way into the on-deck circle. The number's on Sadler this spring.
Appearing for the 8th time, and he could be the later inning left-hander before you get to Danny Baez, the closer.
We were talking earlier, Rick Manning, about that structure in dead center field here. It looks a little out of place.
Yeah,
architecturally on this ballpark, but it's the batter's eye in dead center field. Nub to shortstop. Sorensen over to first base, and there's one down. Opening day may be sold out, but tickets are still available for Reds opening week at Great American Ballpark. Celebrate the Reds' first night game on Wednesday, April 2nd at 7:10, or catch the Reds Pirates in the afternoon on the 3rd. And join in action-packed weekend as the Reds battle the Cubs April 4th through the 6th. Get tickets and get downtown to see the Reds at their new home, Great American Ballpark. But inside that batter's eye, it's painted completely black. Of course, there's one-way windows below where the camera stations are, and inside there's a bar, a lounge bar, where open to the public, where people can come in there and get out of the hot or get out of the heat, have a couple of cool beverages, and relax a little bit.
Well, I know you're going to enjoy this new facility here this year, aren't you? Hey, those guys got a pretty nice view right in here. Hi, guys. How are we doing today? They got a nice view. Look at them waving.
Not bad at all.
I really like this ballpark, Chris. I think you guys are going to have a ball.
You know, it is as high-tech as they come. One of the things that a long drive by Ryan Friel, he's up for the first time, and this backup infielder that is going down to the minor leagues after today's game flies out to left field.
The shortstop, you know, number 12, Felipe.
There are a lot of things here that we haven't talked a lot about, one in which is inside the players' clubhouse. Each locker that the Reds have is hooked up to the internet. So a guy can bring their own laptop, hook it up to the internet, and do some web browsing right then and there. Very interesting the way they have gone high-tech in this ballpark.
They can go out and get their own player profile and do their homework on the starting pitcher that night.
That's right. Well, you know, in addition to that, the Reds have engaged the services of a couple of different video database companies, so they are able to track every pitch that's ever thrown all year long in years past, so do their kind of video scouting that way. Here's Felipe Lopez. Lopez up for the second time. He had an infield hit back in the 5th. Lopez, a switch hitter, this time with the 3rd consecutive lefty on the mound. He'll bat right-handed, and he drops a base hit. And now Lopez is 2 for 2.
Nice piece of hitting there by Lopez. The ball away. He just stays out.
Now batting for the Reds.
Takes what the pitcher gives him. Sadler stays right there. He goes inside the baseball. That is the 4th hit now for the Reds. And the 2nd straight for Lopez.
Well, Willie Mo Pena now will make his way to the plate. Willie Mo on the roster. He is out of options, out of decisions. The Reds had to keep Willie Mo on this team for risk of losing him. And boy, I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen him take batting practice, Rick Manning, he can hit him as far as anybody.
Well, I did not see him because today nobody took batting practice. They took it in the cages underneath next to their clubhouses. So I did not have an opportunity to see him.
Once a Yankee property, the Reds have coveted him for a long time. They've got him. He's been in the minor leagues, and he bounces it back up the middle. And an easy play to first base. Nothing going for the Reds here, and as we complete 7 with the Indians 2 and the Reds 1 in this Great American Insurance Group Interstate Series. Spring training game in Cincinnati. Gabe White will come on for Jimmy Anderson. The Indians lead the Reds 2-1. And Scott Pratt, a pinch hitter for the Indians, will make his way to the plate to face the new Reds left-hander.
Gabe White coming in for the 10th time this spring. He's pitched 10 innings, has struck out 6 and walked a pair.
Gabe's been one of those guys, Rick, that has had to live through a winter and now a spring of trade rumors. He and Scott Sullivan have been publicly on the trading block for, it seems like, the last 6 or 7 months, and you know, that can be a little bit distracting.
You know, it really can, but if you're a guy that's been around, it's sort of the thing where you pretty much ignore it and you say, hey, look, if I get traded, there's nothing I can do about it. I'll just worry about it when it happens. But you're right, sometimes it can gnaw away at a player's psyche and starts worrying about what's going to happen and take it out to the mound with them.
As it stands right now, the Reds have the same flexibility in the bullpen. This is 3 left-handers for Bob Boone. Felix Heredia, Kent Merker pitched in last night's ball game, and here's White today. Breaking ball outside on an 0-2 count. That makes it even 2-2. I guess in today's economic game of baseball, when you've got a small to medium market ball club like the Indians and like the Reds now, even with the new ballpark, you've got a middle reliever making up around $3 million, and he's a guy that they're looking to cut, not for baseball reasons, but financial reasons.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of movement, I think, between teams like that. That's why you'll see a lot of the players now. They'll go from team to team. If they're not your superstar, they're not going to sign to a 3 or a 4 year deal. Very serviceable player, but when you're up making that $1 million to $2 million range, you're going to see a lot of movement from those style players.
There's only a handful of teams that are looking for a player that costs $3 million or more right now,
and they're usually east.
The payoff pitch, a swing and a miss on a good fastball by White, and Pratt goes down for out number 1 here in the 8th. You won't miss a game of Reds baseball with the help of a magnet schedule from Provident Bank. Free to the first 20,000 fans on Friday, April 4th. The magnet schedule depicts our lovable new mascot, Gapper. The Reds meet Sosa and the Cubs in the first weekend series of the season, and you can get a limited edition magnet schedule free from Provident Bank. Get your tickets and get there early on April 4th for your only chance to see the Cubs till September.
Tell you what, I'll send you an Indian schedule from the opening series. You send me a Red so I know where you and George will be all year.
I've got your cell phone. While you were over here doing color with John Sanders and George, I was over there using your cell phone.
Where were you calling, Japan?
I was calling everybody that was on your phone book.
I believe it. I'm glad you said hello. Now I won't have to make any calls.
All those people that owe you money, that you've got a new address.
Yeah, that's right. It's in Cincinnati.
That's exactly right. Here's Zach Sorensen. And he takes ball 2, 2-1 to Sorensen. Charlie Lucan, the mayor of Cincinnati, here and threw out the ball to start this ball game today. Sitting in the good seats.
Well, you were down there last night, weren't you? Down in those seats and for the free food underneath there.
It can make you very spoiled.
I'll bet.
Being down in the diamond section. Until you get down there and actually experience the game down there, you can't describe how good it is. I mean, it's delicious. Popped up in the infield. The new second baseman, Ryan Friel, will take charge, and there are 2 down.
Well, maybe if you talk to
number 96,
be able to get behind there and do a game there this year. Down in those seats.
I've already asked to see if my media pass would get me in there. I got a resounding no. So I'm looking for some side doors, maybe a service entrance.
I think if you reach into that pocket, you break out at 20, I bet you can get down in there.
We will try it. New hitter for the Indians here, Eric Crozier. Left-handed hitting outfielder. This is the time of spring training when you bring some guys up you haven't seen before.
I was just wondering earlier if they have their own charter to head back down to Florida to bring spring training, because there's quite a few of those guys that are playing in this game now that'll be heading south.
When they say these guys ride coach, they mean as in bus.
That's right. They'll be heading out after the game. Bring up. Everybody's pretty much ready to start on Monday. I know you've been down in spring training and you're ready to roll.
It's hard to complain about spring training, but I think that there's a feeling amongst all players, coaches too, that it's just a little bit too long. You get through dog days down there where you get tired, you get to the ballpark at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. It makes for long days, and you're right, guys are ready to go.
It's so different than I think when we played, because players come down in such good shape now. It's a 12-month-a-year job. They really work out. They're coming to spring training already in shape. Really, the reason why it's so long is so the pitchers can extend their arms, get to their pitch count of about 100 pitches for the starters. But the hitters are ready. If you give them 10 days, I guarantee they'd be ready.
Swing and a miss by White, 1-2-3 inning. He collects a couple of strikeouts. We go to the bottom of the 8th with the Indians 2, the Reds 1 on this Great American Insurance Group Interstate Series. All right, fans, Scott, he along with Mr. Red will entertain the fans here in the stands of this brand new beautiful ballpark, and David Risky hoping to finish off the Reds here as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning with the Indians up 2-1.
First right-hander we've seen of the day is David Risky. And he has an opportunity this year, Chris, with Mark Wohlers having arm surgery, to be the setup guy to get to the back end of that bullpen, Danny Baez, and he's had an awfully good spring.
Pretty good arms here at the very back end of that bullpen. Risky's got good stuff, and everybody knows how hard Baez throws. The 0-1 count to Reggie Taylor. After an attempted bunt, swinging a foul straight back.
I think if there's concern, it would be in that bullpen for the Cleveland Indians this year.
What do you think of mascots? I know that we had Slider, the Indians mascot, down here yesterday. Looked like kind of a pseudo wrestling match between Gapper and Slider.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him go on. Maybe after the game we can see him go one-on-one.
That wasn't you in the Slider uniform.
No, I usually do that in preseason, not during the year.
There's Mr. Red, trying to warm up a little bit.
They're always trying to warm up next to girls. Sitting there under a blanket.
Today, a very fine day, big day on Fox Sports Net. The Cavs and Celtics come to you at 7 o'clock for you folks viewing in the northern region of the state. And at 9 o'clock, the Blue Jackets take on Calgary.
Maybe the first
Hockey
time where
fans, basketball fans, baseball fans, everybody's happy today. Swing and a miss, a fastball right by Reggie Taylor, and Risky's faced one and struck out one.
Number 28, the right fielder, Austin Kearns.
And Risky, he's pretty sneaky with that fastball. He only throws it about 89 to 90 miles an hour, but he hides it well. And that ball gets up on you. You see a lot of hitters take little turdy swings. I don't know if it's tough to pick up, but he can be sneaky.
Pitching out of the stretch, Risky with one out, and Austin Kearns. Austin Kearns sidelined most of the spring with elbow chip operation. Yeah, there wasn't a complicated procedure, but it did set him down for just about 2 weeks. Hit a home run last night to keep the Reds from being shut out, and he singled in his first at bat in the first. Good solid ball player is Austin Kearns. Interesting as you read around the internet, there was an article about the 10 hottest properties in baseball, of which they named Suzuki, Ichiro Suzuki, and Wrigley Field. They named Austin Kearns as number 9 as the hottest property in baseball. Popped up and drifting out of play.
Well, we talked about, oh, here we go. Okay, thanks, Jess. Add some excitement to your next group event. You can enjoy Indians baseball at Jacobs Field, and the Indians have great group ticket package opportunities available. And if you would like information, it's 216-420-HITS. That's 216-420-HITS.
Two balls and a strike to Austin Kearns from David Risky. There's a fastball, a good one, in for a strike. Rick, this year, interesting interleague series for the Indians. You guys play the National League West, San Diego, Los Angeles. I'm looking through the schedule. You have Arizona as well. You'll get the big unit, Schilling and Elmer Defense.
Yeah, you know what? We had Arizona last year. We only saw Schilling. We didn't get the big unit. I wanted to see him pitch. We've seen him, of course, before when he was with Seattle. But yeah, the only team we don't play out west is the Giants. So looking forward to it. We go to Colorado and Arizona. That's a pretty nice trip in itself, isn't it? Those two towns.
Take your golf clubs.
It's beautiful out there.
Full count to Austin Kearns. Risky swung on, line drive right at the second baseman. Selby puts it away, and there are two down.
The first baseman, number 44, Adam Dunn.
Here's Adam Dunn. Struggled at the plate this afternoon, 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. The Reds are hoping that Adam Dunn regains the form that he had 2 years ago, in which he hit 61 home runs, minor league and major leagues combined. Takes the first pitch strike.
Well, you got these two guys, Kearns and Dunn, to follow Griffey. If he can stay healthy this year, that's pretty good 3, 4, 5 middle part of your lineup.
Well, that's the important part for the Reds, of course, is the health of Ken Griffey Jr. If you keep him healthy, it makes everybody else in your lineup a little bit better. Takes the pressure off a young guy like Dunn. You know, as Dunn struggled last year, the tendency was to compare him to a veteran player instead of a second-year player who is still learning what it's all about. Swung on and popped up. In comes the left fielder, Jody Jarrett, and he makes the catch for the out. Nothing doing for the Reds here in the 8th inning. Rick Manning, I enjoyed it very much.
Chris, I did too, buddy. Good luck
here And we'll break new ground again when we see each other. Great American Ballpark Insurance Group interest rates continue.
They're rocking and rolling at Great American Ballpark. Great to have you with us at the Great American Insurance Group Interstate Series. George Grand with Chris Welch back at the ballpark, bringing you some baseball, and hope you've had a chance to enjoy today's broadcast. And here's the newest in a long line of pitchers today, John Riedling. Chris.
Yeah, John Riedling is set to be the setup man right now for Scott Williamson down in the Reds bullpen. You see the numbers on him on the spring. Only pitched 9 innings. Had a tough outing his last time. You see the strikeout walk ratio, 8 strikeouts to 6 walks. 4 of those came his last time out. But Riedling, certainly a guy that the Reds are going to have to depend on an awful lot. He and Scott Sullivan setting up Scott Williamson.
Speaking of depending, that's exactly what Eric Wedge is hoping to do with this guy, Shane Spencer. Spencer today a double, 1 for 3. He has played well, hit well this spring, and he'll get the chance to win an everyday job in the outfield for this Indians team. You and Rick had the chance to talk a little bit about the Reds and the Indians, but yeah, there's no doubt that the Indians have some work to do, but this is a fun group of guys to be around, and they should forge some new ground in the Central this year. A couple of years away, yes, but some good young building players.
You know, it's very easy for cities to get spoiled, especially in Cleveland, where they had such a great team for so many years. It was almost automatic. You could put it in the book that the Indians were going to the playoffs. The years of Bell and Lofton and guys like that, and it was just one monstrous offensive season after another, and you get so spoiled that when it does become time to rebuild, you say, hey, what's going on? But I think they've gone about it the right way. They've got some pretty good looking players. They certainly have some good pitching at the very top of their order. Ought to be very interesting. Other than the Twins, I don't see anybody in that division making a lot of ground. So if they can take advantage of some of the other weaker teams in the Central, maybe they can sneak in the back door somewhere.
You talked about the American League Central. The National League Central may have the most balanced division in all of baseball, and I heard Rick say that he thought the American League West was the cream of the crop in the American League. I would agree with that. I think our division, the National League Central, is going to be very interesting with the starting pitching, especially, that each of the contenders has.
Well, the top 3 on most every one of those contending clubs, and you can go right on down to the Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I think the exception to that is maybe the Cincinnati Reds. But I mean, if you look at the starting pitching of the Houston Astros and the St. Louis Cardinals and certainly the Chicago Cubs, they've got a lot of strikeout power pitchers in that ball club. Pittsburgh's got tremendous pitching. You're going to see that with Chris Benson on Monday. It is going to be this is going to be a league of pitching this year. I'm no doubt about it. And that's regardless of how this particular ballpark plays out as an offensive ballpark or a defensive type ballpark.
I think the only thing we know after 2 games is that pop-ups and fly balls will have a life of their own.
Hello.
Wind's been blowing every which way, and it's created some havoc for outfielders thus far. Spencer takes a walk. John Riedling's first free pass. Hey, it's an opening week extravaganza at Great American Ballpark. At the home opener on Monday, all fans will get a commemorative opening day baseball thanks to Great American Insurance Group. Wednesday will be the first night game at the new park. Reds take on the Buccos at 7:10. Thursday, 12:35. Take a break from work at Fast Heinz Business Day Special. Join us at Great American Ballpark. Be a part of the fun of 2003. Here's former Indian, former Red, now Indian again, Bill Selby. Selby struck out his first time up after entering the game. 1 on, no one out. Indians lead it. 2 runs, 6 hits and an error. The Reds are run, 4 hits and an error. The Cincinnati search for offense continues through the last 2 weeks of this spring training. They have. Are you alarmed at the lack of offense the last week to 10 days?
I'm not at all, George. Talking to some of the Reds people before the ball game, some of them indicated to me that they were somewhat concerned, but I really don't have that problem. I'm more impressed on what's on the back of somebody's baseball card than what they do in the month of March in Sarasota. And the stats will tell you that Griffey will hit, Larkin will hit, Austin Kearns can hit, Aaron Boone will reach his level. And I think that around the infield, even Brandon Larson is be a guy that can put some numbers up. We haven't seen Sean Casey in here today. Of course, he's got a little setback with that injury that he sustained last night, but he should be okay. I think it's a diverse enough offense that they'll be able to score some runs.
Casey told us just before the game that he is okay and is planning to start on Monday after first an X-ray, then a CAT scan on the wrist that he jammed making a diving catch last night. And the Reds need a return to form for Sean Casey, don't they?
Well, they certainly do. But, you know, the part of this ball club that has always been the strength over the last 4 years or so is the part that I have the biggest concern about, and that's the back end of the bullpen. When you take Danny Graves out and make him a starting pitcher, I think you make your starting rotation better, but you weaken the bullpen because you don't know exactly what you're going to get from Scott Williamson. Scott Williamson's got the stuff to be a tremendous closer, but he hasn't been called on to do that for the last few years. Can he do it every day? Can he throw enough strikes? Can John Riedling throw enough strikes in Scott Williamson's absence? And I think until you answer those questions, there's going to be an if surrounding the back end of these games.
And that's certainly a question for the Indians this year, bullpen. 3 balls, 2 strikes, trying to hold that runner Shane Spencer close. It's a 1-run ball game. Bob Boone wants to continue it right there and give the Reds a chance to pull this one out in the 9th inning. Chilly day, Great American Ballpark, good crowd on hand, and after the first 2 games, it's very obvious that as you look around this stadium, a lot of people sit, but more people walk to look at every nook and cranny. There goes the runner fouled at the plate. I'd say at any given time, there's about 30% of those that are at the ball game that are walking around on the main concourse, at the upper levels, in the restaurants. And I hope you get a chance to come out and join us, whether you're here in the Cincinnati area or from the northern part of the state. This has been a great baseball state where Reds fans have gone up to Jacobs Field, and we would imagine those from the north will be visiting us this year down in the south for the first time. A reason to come and see a great ballpark, Great American Ballpark. Full count again, slice to the left side and out of play. The pitching rotation that you mentioned, Chris, the Reds will play the Pittsburgh Pirates opening day. Jimmy Haynes against Chris Benson. Benson 9-6 last year, finished 5-0 and an ERA in the 2s his final 5 starts. Exceptional end of the season, and he has continued that through spring training. Tuesday an off day. Wednesday, Ryan Dempster against Kip Wells. That's low ball 4-2 on. On Thursday, it'll be Jimmy Anderson, today's starter, against Josh Fogg.
Number 68.
Then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Danny Graves against the former Red left-hander Sean Estes as the Cubs come to town. That's your start of the rotation for the Reds. The Reds will basically go with 4 starters until a 5th starter is needed, and the plan is that Paul Wilson will be ready for that for Bob Boone. Wilson remained down in Florida to continue his prep for the season. Middle of the infield looking for 2, kicks away from Kelly Stinnett. He'll have no play. Both runners advance. So a bit of wildness for John Riedling, whether it's the cold weather or what. He is not showing pinpoint control here.
You know, the same way it was for John Riedling his last time out. Had control problems. This time he's missing badly, both with his fastball and his breaking ball. So much now after walking the first 2 batters and falling behind to Jody Jarrett, he'll bring the sheriff, Don Gullett, out to the mound.
Hand on the shoulder, and that's the way Don Gullett operates.
You know what that means? That means settle down a little bit. These guys aren't as good as you're giving them credit to be. Just go ahead and get to your balance point and get some good extension towards the plate. Don Gullett, as much as anything else, tries to simplify pitching right down to the very basics. He's not out there trying to reinvent the windup. He's just trying to get Riedling to find one key in his windup to get him back on level.
2 on, no one out. Now with runners at 2nd and 3rd after the wild pitch, the Reds will have to bring the infield in, hoping for a strikeout or a pop-up here. Kicks away from Stinnett. Garrett today started in left. He's one of the few. He and Shane Spencer have played this entire ball game. He bounced to first, single to right, and a fly ball to center. Out of Stanford, outstanding athlete. He'll be in the minor leagues when the season starts. Big swing. Other exhibition games today. Memphis beat the Cardinals 6-3 in an exhibition. Boston beat Atlanta in an exhibition also involving National League teams. Philadelphia and the Yankees are now in the 7th inning, 3-2. The Phillies lead that one. And the Pirates in the 9th lead the Tigers 8-3. Great new ballpark and a great new scoreboard here at Great American Ballpark, so fans will be able continuously to see the scores of games around Major League Baseball. 2-2. Waves at it, a swing and a miss. There's your first out. First strikeout for John Riedling. So the visit by Don Gullett, the sermon on the mound, so to speak, worked.
You know, it looked like Jody Jarrett went after a couple of bad pitches. That one up and out of the strike zone had a little mustard on it. John Riedling just relaxed and blew it right by him. If you needed a strikeout, that was the situation with the infield in, runners on second and third, nobody out. That's the punch out situation, and he could use another one right here.
Here's former Montreal Expo catcher Tim Laker. They'll walk him intentionally to set up a possible double play. One away now here in the 9th. Grady Sizemore in the on-deck circle. Well, we're expecting similar weather for opening day on Monday. A little chilly, but hey, then again, it's March. One day will be 60, the next day will be 16.
We've been through worse opening day weather than we've had today. So if it's like this Monday, I'll take it.
I'll take it too.
As long as we can get it in.
Pirates come to town tonight. Workout day tomorrow, and that workout day became a little more complicated, Chris. Danny Graves is staying in town, and in addition to a workout, there'll be a bit of a simulated game.
I think it's really good for Danny Graves to stay here and pitch a simulated game. You go back down to Sarasota, it'll be 85 degrees, humid, you know, sweat. You come back up here and your start that Graves may have will maybe in 35-degree weather. Let's get him up here and pitch in these conditions off this mound so he understands what it's like to feel the surroundings of a new ballpark. You know, one of the things I always used to do, George, when I go into a new ballpark is walk to the mound the day before I'd pitch, just to kind of get the idea so that when you did get out there, you weren't too surprised on, wow, this is overwhelming, or the stands seem too close, or the pitcher's mound seems too far. You get that all out of the way ahead of time.
Kind of reminds you of the days in high school or grammar school where you did the same thing, dreaming of maybe someday I could be a major leaguer, huh?
The difference, I guess, between there's mounds on these fields.
That's right.
There are holes on those fields.
Big ruts. 1 ball, 1 strike. Reds had the infield in the first 2 pitches. Now they drop the middle of the infield back. They'll go for 2 out at second on a ground ball. Larson and Dunn will come to the plate on a ground ball in all likelihood. Grady looking for his first base hit of the spring. A lot of changes from last year opening day. One of them right there. Last year John Riedling had long curly locks. This year
got the economy cut.
That's right. Loop to right. This should get the run in. Here's Mateo. His throw coming to the plate will be cut. Spencer will score, and the Indians get an insurance run. So Sizemore didn't get his base hit, but he got the job done. A sacrifice fly. Gets congratulations as Ruben Mateo gets the ball in. The runners hold, and the Indians now have an insurance run. 3-1. There's the left fielder Tyler Mingus up for the second time. Bounces it down past the third base coach. By the way, we want to send our best to Joel Skinner, son of Bob Skinner, former major leaguer, a coach here. Joel not with the ball club today. His wife Jennifer recovering after a surgery, and he's spending a couple of days with her. And one of the best, you know, Chris, very seldom would you ever have a guy take over as the interim manager on a ball club and then come back as a coach the next year. You could do that with Joel Skinner because the kind of person that he is, and Eric Wedge has him back this year on his staff.
Good staff.
Yep, great staff. So we send Skins and Jennifer our best. And by the way, I want to send our best too to Chuck Curlin from the Reds PR department. Underwent surgery recently. We look forward to him coming back to the ballpark soon as well. 1 ball, 2 strikes on the outside corner. That'll do it. So the Indians get an insurance run in the top of the 9. The Reds looking for some lightning in the bottom of 9. They trail 3-1 on this Great American Insurance Group. Last roundup team for the Redlegs as they're set to take on the Cleveland Indians today. And then opening day, Cincinnati against Pittsburgh. Of course, we'll be on the air with an extravaganza, our pregame show and the game, and then our postgame show. And don't forget, that's the story of both Cincinnati and Cleveland baseball on Fox Sports Net this year. Here, Jim Day, Dan Horde will be with us for Real Reds. Jeff Pecoro, of course, will be by to contribute on the pregame show, and will be by for the postgame show as well. Tribe Time on Fox Sports Net up in Cleveland. Andy Baskin, Jeff Phelps, and Bill Needle will provide his unique look at baseball and sports as well, and Matt Underwood will help out on the road. And we hope you come to join us here at Great American Ballpark, Chris. 2 games under our belts here, and it's a nice stadium, isn't it?
Nice. That's the understatement of the year right there. Beautiful stadium. Some of the Indians people who have got a great stadium up there in Jacobs Field have told us that it is the nicest stadium that they have been in. So nice to get those kind of compliments from people that have been around the ballpark a long time. New pitcher for the Indians, Jose Santiago. Former Kansas City Royal, Philadelphia Philly. He's pitched 4 games total against the Reds in his career. 28-year-old right-hander from Puerto Rico.
Here's Brandon Larson. He lined to right, and leaping catch by Shane Spencer. Popped up and struck out. Hit hard to short. 1 away as Sorensen takes care of it. Reds down to their final 2 outs. 3 runs, 6 hits, and an error for Cleveland. 1 run, 4 hits, 1 error for the Cincinnati Reds. Here's Ruben Mateo, 0 for 3, reached on an error. The Reds start against the Pirates. Jimmy Haynes against Chris Benson. That's a 4:10 game time start on Monday. The Indians, of course, will start on the road at Baltimore. There's an odd start too. It'll be a 3:05 start Eastern time. CC Sabathia against Rodrigo Lopez. Somewhat ironic because one of the Reds' former scouts, Dick Hager, who was here when the Reds, Jack McKeon was a manager of the Reds. Hager, longtime veteran scout. He was a Red scout in Northern California. Mateo bounces this one down to third. Selby has it, 2 away. I remember reading a scouting report, and here it's ironic that the Indians are in town, and it said, if you draft CC Sabathia, he'll be the starting pitcher when you move into your new ballpark. Well, the Reds didn't draft him, Indians did, and you know, he might have been the #1 pitcher on this staff had the Reds drafted him.
I don't think there's any question about that. It's a ball club right now without an established #1. Not to say that Ryan Dempster or Danny Graves or Jimmy Haynes can eventually grow into an ace pitcher one day, but they're, when you compare them around the rest of the league, you know, can you compare them comparably to Kerry Wood or Randy Johnson, Kurt Schilling, guys like this? At this point, no. So this is going to be a team effort this year for this ball club to win. I don't think that offense is going to be the problem. I think that, you know, again, comes down to the age-old question of whether the Reds have enough pitching. I'm comfortable with the starters. I'm a little concerned about the relief corps.
Time will tell. Don't forget, on Real Reds, we'll be delving into that bullpen. Interviews with John Riedling, Scott Sullivan, and of course the new closer, Scott Williamson. And Chris, key for Scott Williamson, not so much how you handle victory, but how you handle defeat, huh?
That's the key for any good closer, George, to be able to turn the page mentally, come back the next day after a bad outing with a completely new slate in your brain, knowing that every pitch you throw that day has nothing to do with what you did yesterday.
Kelly Stinnett's first at bat after taking over for Jason LaRue. Reds down to their final out as Stinnett stays alive. So the Indians will end the exhibition season, if they win this, with a 19-11 record. Montreal 17-10 had the only percentage record better than the Indians. The Indians will have more wins than anybody else. If the Reds were to lose, they'd be 13-18. Fort towards the corner, but foul.
Well, the Indians were a team last year that got out to a tremendous start out of the gate. They were 11-1 at one point before the season began to unravel for them. People began to talk about how the Indians might be that team of destiny early in April.
Pirates started the same way too, remember?
Yes,
they
they
were
did.
in first place, first 2 weeks plus of baseball. It is a marathon. Towards the hole, base hit, Kelly Stinnett. So the Reds will bring the tying run of the plate in this 3-1 ball game. It's Ryan Friel, who hit it pretty well to the warning track and left. His first at bat, his lone at bat. So Stinnett's down at first, and here's Friel.
Ryan Friel.
You know, George, don't know if Ryan Friel will ever make it to the major leagues with the Reds this season, but if he does, he's the kind of player that fans can just fall in love with. I mean, he is 110% all the time.
He's a Billy Bates kind of guy that, you know, certainly is in Reds lore forever. And Eric Owens' insertion in the middle of the season.
Sure.
A Chris Sabo kind of personality. A line to left, sinking, but caught. Mingus catches up with it, and this one's over. It's in the books. The Indians will win it by a final score of 3-1. 3-6-1 for Cleveland. 1-5-1 for the Cincinnati Reds. Next time we join you, it will be for opening day, either in Cleveland or in Cincinnati. And I know north of the state, it'll be in Baltimore. Here it'll be at Great American Ballpark, Chris, and a whole lot to look forward to for opening day at Great American Ballpark.
I'll say it's a beautiful facility. The people here are enthused about the season coming up, and I think this ball club, George, is going to be a lot better than people give him credit for. It's going to be a great place to watch games. I am very much looking forward to doing 100 games on Fox Sports Net with you this summer, and each and every one of those games will be a pleasure, as it always is.
We'll have some fun once again. Don't forget, join us at Great American Ballpark. Former President Bush will throw out the ceremonial first pitch. We'll also have the singing policeman Daniel Rodriguez here and country music artist Lee Greenwood. Final score once again 3-1, the victory to the Indians. Don't forget, opening day begins March 31st. The Indians take on the Orioles at 3. Reds open Great American Ballpark at 4 against the Buccos. Coming up next, in progress, you got to see this. For Chris Welch, our entire crew, this is George Grant. Good day, everybody. See you at the ballpark.